What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode and live stream of Let's Get Nuts here on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Guys, I've got a great panel of folks with us here today and tons of great topics. So honestly, we're going to talk a little bit about guilty pleasure television shows. We're going to talk about CGI and bringing back, actors back from the dead. How do we feel about that? We're also going to talk about Batman underwear, 6-scale news, the battle of Inart versus Hot Toys. So much to cover today, guys. So stick around, buckle in, let's get nuts together.
What are you doing? You're completely outnumbered here. Are you nuts? You want to get 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 nuts? Want to get nuts? You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Let's get the tunes going here. Let's bring out first my newest official co-host of the Ben Thomas Show, Let's Get Nuts YouTube channel podcast. We got Mr. 1 Adam 12. Adam, back in the house, officially now co-host of the show, sir. Good to see you back, buddy. How you doing, man?
Hey, great to see you, Ben. Great to be back. I don't know what it's like in your part of Canada. It's in the 90s here today. Wonderful,
Jesus.
Hot summer day. So I don't complain at all because I love this type of weather. And I think we got we got some great topics. So you're gonna want to tune in for the whole show on this one.
I'm excited to hear what you have to say, buddy, and especially one of our other guests, too, who I know is a big Batman fan. When we get to those Batman panties later, I want to have, a discussion as to what needs to happen with the look of Batman, right? So lots to talk about, but dude, thank you so much for being here and officially accepting the position. Now, I'm not the only one who's going to build the show sheet anymore, which is nice. It's nice to have some ideas filtered in every once in a while from the boys. So, dude, thanks for being here. On to our next panelist here. Now, he's kind of an unofficial co-host, if I'm being honest. He's been here from truly the beginning. We're at episode 76 right now, so we've had lots of time to get nuts together. We got Mr. Pete from Only Fools and Collecting back in the house. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Hey guys, you okay?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You hearing good?
I was running late. I was running late today, dude. I was playing some Beat Saber because I decided to skip the gym today. Of course, then you're like, fuck, I should have probably gone. Like, now I've got 3 hours to do nothing. So instead, I put my VR headset on and was playing Beat Saber. So you feel kind of like you're a Jedi with lightsabers, playing songs like Linkin Park. So fun.
Nice.
I ended up burning like 350 calories just dancing around in my living room. So to the observer, it would probably look like really freaking ridiculous, but it was fun. So it's been a good
Liking that you got some early Superman merch on there.
Yeah, well, it's funny, right? Like, I'm obviously already pre-anticipating liking the film, and my buddy, he got his tickets the other day, so I know I'm going on the 11th.
Yeah, I'm going on Saturday, so 12th, yeah.
So I'm participating in the movement. I'm hoping that it's good. Like, crossed fingers anyways, because I'm going to have to burn the t-shirt and waste my pre-order money if it's terrible.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Cool, man. Well, good to have you back, dude. Thanks for being here,
Thanks.
as always.
Nice.
We got our last panelist of the day today, second time now officially on Let's Get Nuts, so we must have done something right last week. Let's bring him out. Tijuana Mike, a.k.a. King Chiro, back in the house, buddy. Good to see you, man.
Hello, gentlemen. Hello, collectors. Happy Sunday. First thing I want to start off and just introduce myself to Pete. Pete, it's nice to stream with you the first time.
Yeah,
and
you too.
And hello, Adam, and thank you so much for the invite, Ben.
I muted myself for good etiquette, but always I'm so used to Zach. Zach's like, don't breathe into the microphone on Collecting Weekly. I'm notorious for that. As soon as I'm deep in thought, I breathe loud. So, dude, happy to have you back, man. Good to have you here as always. And yeah, I didn't know you didn't know Pete, so that's badass. So, and it's cool. You specifically that I'm curious to hear about the Batman topic in a bit. So
yes, I see the agenda, and it says, oh, okay.
I can work with that. Guys, on your way in the door today, if you don't mind, we've got over 20 people here already so early in the show. Thank you so much for being here, getting nuts with us on Sunday. If you don't mind hitting the like button on your way in the door, would definitely be appreciated, just so we can get the content out to all of the folks out there in the internet sphere. Let's get started with our warm up. Now, this was an interesting warm up. So last week we talked a little bit about impactful deaths in cinema and television, and it got me talking a little bit more with Adam backstage, and we got talking about binge worthy, or how did you call it, guilty pleasure television. So I wanted to start with that because I think we all have a little bit of that in our lives, and it's silly fun sometimes. But what is your guilty pleasure television show? We'll start with mine. Typically when I'm watching, or typically when I'm in the kitchen making my HelloFresh meals every night, if there's not a stream of 6 scale to watch, I'll turn on Pluto TV, which is like a free Canadian service. I don't know if it is for you guys there, but
Right.
And on there they've got Fear Factor, and they've got How to Be a Millionaire. Sorry, Deal or No Deal. And for whatever reason, I can put that stuff on, and like all of a sudden, like 6 hours have passed, and I've watched 6 hours of the show because they somehow like just get you to come back and keep watching. And Fear Factor was a guilty pleasure for when I was younger, so that was a fun show. But yeah, I think that's it, because otherwise I watch TV and movies with strategic purpose. I either love the characters or I've been pre-anticipating the content. That's something I can just throw on in the background and be mindless. What about you, Adam? What's a guilty pleasure show for you?
Yeah, obviously I'm a huge genre fan, and quote unquote quality television like Game of Thrones, Yellowstone, Breaking Bad, those sort of Succession. But Andor. But I also like my guilty pleasures, and the guilty pleasures a lot of times something my wife and I will watch as like palate cleansers, because sometimes you just can't go. I guess you could, but sometimes if you're going from one great show to another, you got to have a little something to realize that those are great shows, and also just something to divert your time a little bit. Or sometimes you don't maybe want to have the intensity of watching, so you can be on your phone and kind of half watch. So for us, we like the shows. Some of them are up there. I'm really into the dating shows like Love is Blind and Married at First Sight, The Bachelor. But here's the thing. Now my wife, she's kind of hoping there might have some happy ending, the storybook romance. I don't give a darn about that. I'm there for the train wreck. Okay, I'm here for the drama. I'm here for the hair pulling, the yelling. That's what I am there for. And if it doesn't produce, then I get bored.
That's fair.
Yeah, the other type of things that we're really into, like the true crime documentaries, and some of Netflix has some great. There's a show called Trainwreck. We just watched a show called The Poop Cruise, which is about 50 minutes of pure enjoyment. If you're, it's about this real life Carnival cruise line a few years ago it was a train wreck. And there was another one they had about the mayor of Toronto. I can't think, Rob something or other. He was the guy who smoked crack. Yeah. And so it's those sorts of things I enjoy watching.
It's a low point in Canadian history. We don't talk about that here. But fair. Yeah, you like the drama. I don't know if I can sign up for that much drama. I still remember the first season of Survivor. That's how gray I'm getting on the sides here. And now they're on episode or season 29 or 30 or something wild.
Gosh, something like that.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I can't. And the host, I'm pretty confident he's a robot. I've also been watching Westworld lately, which, by the way, if you've never seen Westworld like me, I've enjoyed it. Lots of nudity in it, but enjoyable. Enjoyable
season
show.
You on, Ben?
I'm on season 2.
Yeah, it takes a downturn after that.
Does it dip off?
I agree with me.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fair. I'll keep watching it. I'll let you know. How it feel for it.
Yeah.
But I like the first season a lot. Second
I
season
love
was
the
okay.
first 2 seasons are brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and amazing actors in it. But anyways, I digress. I don't know if I can get on board with so much drama. Adam, what about you, Tijuana Mike? You don't look like you're that dramatic of a person. You look very steady, very calm. What gets you excited? What's your guilty pleasure watch or something you can put on in the background?
Well, for TV shows, and I'm just looking at the pictures here, and it says I remember one. I don't watch a lot of TV. Now it's all streaming or YouTube or everything else and so forth. And it says so, but as in TV itself, it says I remember getting sucked in when the original, the Real World. and it says that was the real world New York City, and it says, and it was kind of like that was kind of like the breakthrough of reality TV. It was kind of like you turned it on and like, what the hell is this show? It was on MTV, and it says, and you know, we're following live people and this and that. Oh, but you got sucked in and you kept on watching episode after episode after episode, and you follow these people, and I think that was it. I mean, and then it jumps up to real world LA, and then they start moving to different cities and everything else. That's when I watched it. I don't even know if it's still on today. And it says, but, and if it is, that's incredible. But I'd say that was my guilty pleasure at that time of TV watching, is the real world, and it was very interesting. Like I said, it was a breakthrough for reality TV.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting to me too, because, you know, you mentioned YouTube there as well. Like for me, YouTube is on, I'd say like 90% of the time. I even have it on in the background, even with the screen off, just when I'm driving to and from appointments at work, because I'm on the road quite a lot. So I'm always listening to people's content or live streams, getting caught up and everything. And in a sense, in a real sense, it's very much like the realest real TV you can get, because it is actually real people that are unfiltered, just talking about whatever they want to talk about for the most part, and is kind of addictive too. Like I don't know about you guys, but as soon as like new figures go up, I want to hear what people have to say about it. I get excited, right? I want to share it. So what about you, Pete? What's a guilty pleasure for you? Can you hear us, Pete?
Yeah,
you're
I
muted,
can.
bud. Oh, there you are.
There you go.
Yeah, what's a guilty pleasure for you, buddy?
Yeah. I was just trying to think. I'm like you. I just tend to have a lot of YouTube on. I like watching all the like retro toy collectors. So you know, all the stuff. I don't really want to get into buying it, because I think that's you know, I've got enough going on here with the 6 scale stuff. But I love the going into the shops, into the stores, and looking at, you know, the 80s stuff, A-Team, Transformers, all that stuff. So I love that. So I kind of get, they're kind of my guilty pleasure. And you watch one, and then it goes on to another one, and you kind of, then there's all different ones. In terms of TV, I think what's it called? I just finished watching it. Oh God,
You know, it's brain rot when you can't even remember the title moments after you finished. What are they doing it?
The one where they're all in the house and they have to they will kill each other.
Big Brother?
No. Oh
They'll
man.
kill each other.
It's
like murder mysteries. Like a murder mystery.
You do have an American version. Why can't I think of it? The Traitors. The Traitors. So it's
you could have said Brits Gone Wild, and I would have believed you.
Yeah, so there was a British version that we had on the BBC, and basically they stick like 16 people in a house, and then they make 2 of the 3 of them traitors, and the traitors get to kill, and they have to vote out and stuff. And then there was so we watched the first British one. Me and my wife watch it. So it's quite like one of those rare things where we kind of you know, like watching something together. And then there was a US version, Canadian version. That we watched. New Zealand we just finished watching. Australia. There was an Iceland one. So and like you can just you can just keep watching. You know, 3 or 4 are gone, kind of thing. And it's fairly lowbrow stuff, but you kind of get into the characters and stuff, and you kind of get your favourites and everything. The funny thing is with the UK one and most of the other ones, they're just like normal people, whereas the US one's weird because they're all people that have been on all of these shows that you've got in front of here. So they'll say, they were from like Love Island, or they were from Survivor, and I just keep thinking, Jesus, you've got so many. There's so many of these shows over there.
So many.
Vanderpump.
When I made this slide, I was shocked. I was shocked how many there are.
Yeah.
Dude.
I used to watch the the UK Apprentice with Alan Sugar, but I got fed up with that. It got a bit boring. It got a bit stupid. I think with a lot of these things, they start off quite sort of controlled and good, and then they just have to keep ramping it up every year, and it just gets more and more like ridiculous, the things they do.
I do like seeing like talent talent shows and some of that kind of stuff. Like some of the raw talent of people in the world is pretty cool to see. Obviously they put that center stage when it's on these shows. They're obviously trying to boost their ratings. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part there's obviously there's a when reality shows really became a big thing, it was like a whole movement for years and years, it felt like, and it fell off over the last couple of years, I think, a little bit. But there are still shows. I think it was even Marco. I could be wrong. One of the guys the other day was saying they were watching Love Island with their wives. Maybe it's because I'm like, I've got no wife, that I sit here. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch YouTube about figures or random shit.
I don't think I can. It'd be a dark day when I watch Love Island. I can't bring myself to watch
It'll
that.
be a dark day. Let us know, Pete, when it ever happens. Let's move on, guys. That was a fun, silly warm up. Adam, I like that. Vin Diesel confirms final Fast and Furious movie for April 2027 and the return of Brian O'Connor.
Yeah.
So, we could talk, I'm sure at length with regards to Fast and the Furious. I didn't hate Fast and the Furious by any stretch. It's had a couple silly movies. Some of them I really enjoyed. I think it was 7 and 8. I really enjoyed quite a bit. And some of the earlier ones. The latest two I didn't love. The one with Jason Momoa, which I think was Fast 10. He was
9,
very
where they
odd.
went into space, was bizarre.
That one with the duct tape on the windows, right? Yeah, there was some silliness there. But what this did make me think of was Paul Walker and some other actors who have been kind of brought back to life through the use of CGI. And I was curious how you guys feel about seeing these people back on screen. Obviously, I'm sure, or I would hope anyways, when I say obviously, that family obviously signs off on this. Their family feels like this is appropriate and would be respectful of their memory. And just because an actor passes away doesn't necessarily mean that the character has to pass away. I know when Chadwick Boseman, of course our Black Panther, when he tragically passed, there was a huge debate on whether it should be, either CGI likeness brought back, recasted, would that be respectful? But life is life, people pass, and obviously even just this week we lost a couple of different pretty iconic people. So how do you guys feel about the bringing back of actors from the dead in order to play a CGI counterpart? For me, I don't totally love it. I feel like these characters could technically be moved on from, but there are some heartfelt ones. Like I did put Harold Ramis here in the Afterlife Ghostbusters film. That one made me cry, honestly. It did. That one got me. So, Adam, we'll start with you, buddy. What do you think about CGI likeness bringing people back to life?
Well, first and foremost, if the family or the estate of the departed actress signs off on it and gets compensation for it, and that's the key thing. If they get compensation for the profits from that film or television show, I'm fine with that. I think the thing is, the genie's out of the bottle, and we're soon, I don't know when, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but it's going to come to a point where you're going to go on your computer, your phone, whatever device you're on, and you say, hey, I'd like to see a movie with James Dean as a Jedi Knight. And he fights Marilyn Monroe as a Sith Lord.
Oh my God.
And the AI will give that to you. You tell them the parameters of the story you want, and you will get that. It will be Star Wars on demand with the actors you want, saying the lines. Either you write for it or the AI writes for it. So this train has left the station, and the genie's out of the bottle. I don't know how many more metaphors I can use, but I don't know if there's any way to stop it now. So the only way you can do it is try to do some ethical ways of doing it. But it's, to me, the first and foremost, the family of the actor or the actress has got to get compensated for it. I mean, of course, if I was an actor and I'm past, go ahead, use my likeness. I'm okay with that, as long as my daughter gets a cut of it, my grandkids or whoever. They better get some of that cash.
100%. Do you like seeing the characters back though? What about that side of it? Like, does it warm your heart to see Princess Leia back on screen, or a Paul Walker back in a final film of Fast and the Furious? Like, or does that not necessarily do anything for you?
Doesn't bother me if it fits the story and it's well done. I mean, it looks wonky a little bit in Rogue One, and same with Tarkin.
Yeah, that did. Look
It's not quite there yet. I mean, like younger Indiana Jones in the last movie, Dial of Destiny. It's almost there, but not quite there yet. Or Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian. I love seeing that, and obviously Mark Hamill is still with us, and he was there. They just he gave permission. He actually filmed, and they just de-aged him. But it's almost there.
Amazing.
It's not quite there yet. Yeah, I mean, everyone loved that.
That one was amazing.
That's one of the
that
great
was one of the
Star
best
Wars
I'd ever
movies
seen. 100%.
So if it's well done, yeah, I got no problem with it.
Absolutely. I forgot about the Mark Hamill one. That one did actually really blow me away, especially since he was sitting prone. Like that looked really, really good. The one thing about Harrison Ford and Dial of Destiny, I thought it looked really good while he was in the chair getting beaten up. It wasn't until he started running that he still ran like an 80-year-old, even though he still looked young. And then they went to the top of the train, and it was very obviously like a little CGI person running.
Yeah,
so.
Well, the other piece too is they quite haven't solved the voice issue, and an 80-year-old man sounds different than a 40-year-old man.
Sounds a little more gruff.
They need to, with computer technology, you're gonna have to solve that voice issue, and they didn't do that in Voice Dial of Destiny.
That's right. That's right. Pete, what about you? Do you like seeing some of your favorite characters brought back to life through CGI? Does it depend on the film? Does it depend on the story? Does it put you off generally? Like, how do you feel about that?
I'm not generally a fan. I think an exception would be the Harold Ramis one, because I think that was really heartfelt, and also because he's got that kind of ghostly look. It wasn't, it didn't matter that it wasn't completely photorealistic. You knew what they were depicting him as a ghost. That's fine. I really hate the Princess Leia. I watched Rogue One again just last week because I finally finished watching Andor season 2, which I really enjoyed. I didn't like the first season at all, but I really enjoyed the second one. And I thought, I'll rewatch Rogue One because it's kind of the last episode of Andor is literally him flying off to Jeddah. So I watched it, and I enjoyed the movie, I think, more than I had before because of all the context and stuff. But Tarkin jumped out to me. It was a bit off-putting, and also the voice was not any, but was worse, I think, than the actual CGI. So that took me off. And obviously Leia at the end. I would have preferred it if they just had her daughter play it, or even this actress here. You don't need. It was like one sentence she said, and they didn't have to do it. So I think I'd rather they didn't do that. I think the other thing I'd like, just to say what you said, Adam, I think it was also really noticeable that Vader's voice wasn't right. It was James Earl Jones doing it, but obviously he was in his 80s then probably. I know now he signed off his voice rights, didn't he? So now they can use AI to do it, but I think he was doing it for real, and you could really tell that it was a much older man, and it lacked that real gravitas, that real depth of voice. So and things like Paul Walker, I don't have a problem if somebody passes away during production of a movie, because you've got to finish that movie, and it's happened several times. Richard Harris, I don't know if he actually was during filming, but thingy from Gladiator, what's his name? The heavy drinker guy. Get his name.
I don't know.
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had to finish those parts, and obviously, sometimes it would just literally be a stand-in actor. It'd be from behind. They wouldn't necessarily have to say any lines or show their faces. But obviously with Paul Walker, I think it was partly to finish the movie, and also as a little kind of honour to him. So I don't mind that. Oliver Reed, yeah, he died during filming of Gladiator. So and I don't think. I mean, it's difficult to because obviously, even in this last year, like AI has just gone insane, and I think the issue's always been that CGI could do these little bits, little fill-ins, a few seconds scene, and it was fine. You could kind of get away with it, but to have a whole movie where you've kind of brought somebody back to life. It certainly wasn't. We certainly weren't there a few years ago. Whether we are now or not, I don't know, because obviously, you see some incredible things that AI is doing, but is it up to the job just yet? I don't know. And as much as we all have, our favourite actors and we love what they've done, I think, to be honest, we just, to me, I'm quite happy to just park what they've done with their career, because there's always new actors and actresses coming through. If you start, saying, okay, we're going to have, James Dean, Harrison Ford, all this sort of thing, then you are taking roles away from, newer actors and stuff who could end up being just as great and your favourites as the old ones. So, I'm not really, and the stuff in indie was a bit grating, yeah. So, generally, I'm not a fan of it if it's done intentionally and not just as a, we need to finish this movie. What do we do? So
that does bring up a good point too about other voice actors or actors being able to take on their roles. As people do pass away. Like I think about Kevin Conroy, for example, who for me is the voice of Batman, right? Like when I close my eyes and think of his voice, that he is Batman to me. But there is a new voice actor who's doing some of the more like the newer content, like even the VR game that I've been playing, the Batman game. It's a different voice, and he does an amazing, I want to say almost impression of Kevin Conroy, but he's still got a bit of his own spin to it. But he does a great job, and he's very believable as Batman, and I'm happy for him to be able to have that role. And then you think of guys like James Earl Jones, which he's got such an iconic voice, and he dedicated his whole voice to a voice library, right? So that we could have the voice of him for forever. He's a voice I wouldn't want to replace, but I would have felt the same way about Kevin Conroy, except that, as I said, another person has done it at least well so far. So, it's interesting thoughts there. What about you, Mike? How does this shape up for you? Is it something that you don't like seeing on screen? Is it something you don't mind, depending on the situation?
I think if it's really on point, like really, really on point, it could happen. But I say to this effect, maybe happen once. Now, Paul Walker, they did it for the movie because he passed away during filming. But to bring him 2-3 movies later, that's kind of that's kind of like, okay, 9, 10, 11, come on, let the man rest, and it's let any of them rest. With the Ghostbusters, that was very heartfelt when they brought him back, and it says so. But to do it once, and it says with Leia once, and that's it, and it says but you have to, we're going into this week, going into changing the flag or passing on the mantle, or with a new Superman. And it says so Christopher Reeves and all them, Christopher Reeves was my Superman, and it says we're going into a new territory. Say they wanted to bring Christopher Reeves back. They showed a clip of him during The Flash.
The Flash?
And
I hated it.
And
I
then
didn't look at that at all.
Yeah, they showed clips and everything of the old guys and everything else. And then it was a little bit enjoyable for me. But if they did CGI with them and did, like this says, no. It says we need to go on, and it says even with this week with the new Superman coming, I hope there is an opening for children to open a new book with Superman, like they opened the book for me, and to keep this legacy going on with the new Superman. And we and us old guys are gonna need to accept that. And then they said Reeves is not here, and then Cavill, they had their issues with him, and now we're going to go forth. If any of us, we probably are all Batman fans. We've been through a lot of Batman, so we can get through another Superman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I'd like to add about AI.
Yeah,
there's this episode on in Netflix. It's called, and it's a show called Black Mirror. And it says Black Mirror, and they said they showed one show. And I don't watch a lot of it, but I bumped into it. Of course, Selma Hayek was on it, and I says, "Oh, okay, I'll watch it." It was called "Joan is Awful," and it was basically the AI going wrong. And it's just they were doing the AI with Selma Hayek. She actually played herself. And it says, and the show kept on going on. They had some bogus Netflix show that they changed the name, and then and that storyline kept on going and going and going and going. And there was somebody behind all of this. This like they were just changing people or revamp them to AI. And somehow I get all pissed off and everything else and all this other stuff because they were making her do a lot of things that she wasn't even there. So it was like AI going wrong. So that could happen. I mean, we with the AI, it's kind of cool, but then you can take it you can use it too much and just it just overloaded. It says we should go forth and go on and see what's with the new characters, new actors, new everything. Again, like Black Panther, that could be that's going to be replaced. That's on that, and I think it's a good idea. And it says you can't just reveal. I thought they were going to do that, kind of like put them back on screen like that, but with AI. But no, it's time to go on.
And Ronnie, one of our channel members, says the CGI of the dead is the posing for Playboy response, as long as it's tastefully done. In quotes. And I think that definitely resonates with me. You mentioned Chris Reeve coming back there in The Flash, and it was nice to see him again. Don't get me wrong; like it was like, I'm glad they honored him that way. But I thought the CGI didn't look very good. It looked like PlayStation 2 graphics, and I felt that, in a sense, felt a little untasteful. Like if you're gonna bring him back, make him look crispy. And Adrian Underwood says it right here. Somebody did AI of Christopher Reeve as Superman on a YouTube channel. It looked amazing, right? So the technology exists to make these folks look, that next level. I think it can feel a little disrespectful if it's not done.
See that shows it, Ben, because pardon me, that shows that a whole studio couldn't get it right, but yet a YouTuber can get it 100% plus. And that says I've seen a lot of people on YouTube that is like, wow.
Well, that's the next level because 2 or 3 years ago we had the actors and the writers strike, and a big part of that strike was issues related to AI, and how it impacts those two guilds, those two unions, and the studios. They know that the future is AI for their business, so there will come a day where YouTubers will get a license. You'll pay a fee to Disney or to Warner's, and you'll create your own content as long as you pay their fee. But that doesn't mean you're going to be hiring union actors, because it's all going to be digital on the computer. Just like I was saying, you're going to create YouTube. You'll create your own Star Wars stories. They're already doing it, but they'll do it at a higher level at that you couldn't tell the difference whether, Johnny or Joni on YouTube did it or whether George Lucas did it.
There's been a couple things that I've like shown the girlfriend on my phone, right? I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And she'll be like, that's AI, honey. And I'm like, oh, like it's starting to fool me. And like, again, like it's one of those things. You got to look for the fingers, apparently look for the hands. And to Paul Walker piece there, just because that's how we started this segment. I think that they did give him a really good memory send off of him. They did bring him back on I think it was end of Fast 8 when he and Vin Diesel are driving, parallel on the road, and they both take, parting ways, and it was a beautiful moment and an emotional moment. I thought that was a wonderful way to send him off. On the flip side of that argument, though, he's also like Vin Diesel's best friend in the film, right? He's been alluded to being alive just somewhere else out there in the world, sort of thing, in the world of Fast and the Furious anyways. He's been alluded to a couple times in the other films. If it's a final world-breaking moment, your best friend's not going to not show up, right? And so while it was a great send-off for Paul Walker, I think at that time, I can also see the argument to bring him back to finish it off. So interesting thoughts. Let us know, guys, in the comments down below. We have 40 people watching live. Thanks for getting nuts with us here on Sunday. Again, if you don't mind hitting the like button just to get the channel moving, I appreciate it. We also have a brand new Nut King in the group here. We got Manny Fresh 369, just became a Nut King on the Ben Thomas Show. Thank you so much. We'll go into the memberships here shortly, but just a reminder, Nut Kings mean that each month, depending on your tier level, you will get a channel sticker with your avatar there, as well as a few pieces of other access. We'll go into that in a moment, but thank you so much, Mr. Manny Fresh welcome to the Kings, and I'm gonna have to do a special video for the Kings, but for now, this is pretty decent, bud. Decent. Oh, I hit it twice. Decent twice. You'll love to see it. Guys, let's move on to the next topic here. Jurassic World. I know some people have seen it. Some people haven't seen it. I have not seen it yet, so this isn't going to be a spoilers discussion with regards to Jurassic World, and not even necessarily about Jurassic World itself. It has more to do with the mediocre score that it's receiving, and how does reviews play an impact on your decision to see a film. So I'll go back to the beginning, right? I call it June. I'm saying my 3 most anticipated films for July is Jurassic Park, Superman, and Fantastic Four. Can't wait. Then we get to July 2nd, and I see these reviews start rolling through for Jurassic Park. And my immediate thought was, maybe I'll just wait for it to come to a streaming service then. Like, I want to see it, but if it's not great, I'm not going to take the money. I'm not going to spend the time. A whole date is a whole thing, right? You spend $100 by the time you get snacks and all this stuff if you're not careful. But I still kind of want to see it. And I've heard some people say, no, despite the reviews, I really liked it, and I think it's worth seeing. And so I'm conflicted because based on the review, it did take my excitement out of it. But on the other hand, my nostalgia for the Jurassic Park franchise overall is still there enough that I feel like I kind of still want to. And despite some of the pretty bad ratings of some of the past Jurassic Park films, I think the last 3 or something like that have hit the $1 billion mark. It seems like it's kind of impervious to financial loss. But this one might be a differentiator. So I'm curious, Adam, how does a review change your either excitement for a film or not?
I think the most precious thing, obviously my family, my dogs, but the most precious thing in my life is time, and time is precious. So I know if I spend 2 or 3 hours in a movie that is, besides spending the money going to the theater, that's just terrible. It's not just the money, whatever. I don't get that 3 hours back in my life. So the way I see it now, there's certain IPs that I will get tickets in advance, and no matter what the reviews are, I'm still going to go because of my love of that. If a Star Wars film came out, I will get tickets in advance. So of those 3 movies you mentioned, Ben, 2 of those movies I already have tickets for: Superman and Fantastic Four. I got my opening night tickets for both, and no matter what the reviews are, I'm going to see them because I love Marvel, I love Superman, DC. Jurassic World, I love the first Jurassic Park. Second one, Lost World, wasn't too bad. It's a Spielberg film. It wasn't his best film, but it wasn't bad. Jurassic World, the third one was terrible. Jurassic World, the first one with Chris Pratt, was okay. It wasn't bad. It was entertaining. The last 2 were just abysmal. So I feel like I've been burned by this franchise. So in that case, I got to rely on 2 things. I got to rely on, your Rotten Tomatoes score and word of mouth from people I know. So 2 things. Tell them before I go see this in advance. The Rotten Tomatoes score is pretty terrible, and word of mouth from people I know who've seen it, people I know in the community who've seen it, is not good. So I'm gonna wait till Peacock or Netflix or Pluto or whatever this shows up on, that I'm not paying any extra amount of money on. And if in the first 15 minutes I don't like it, I just change and put on something else. And that's how I think that's how I got to, some movies to me are impervious. I'll see it no matter what. And clearly Jurassic World is an impervious movie because it's made record-breaking amount of money its opening weekend. So, as long as you just say Jurassic on it, people will come and they'll be holding their dollars. Take my money for Jurassic World. But for me, this is not a franchise that I would do that for.
And you're not wrong. I mean, some people who don't necessarily go to the theater all the time will still go out for something like Jurassic Park just because of the recognizable name. And I think if time was the only currency you couldn't get back, I'd be more inclined sometimes to spend time on things that I don't love. Like we were talking about guilty pleasure television earlier. It will kind of actually frustrate me, as I said, if I watch more than about 3 Deal or No Deals back to back, and they still haven't told you who the winner of this round is, so you still have to watch the first. I hate that. On the other hand, I also do like being part of the conversation sometimes, and how divisive social media is these days. It's so easy for things to get review bombed now, and then suddenly it looks worse than it actually is. Now, talking to community members, that's a different story, right? I mean, obviously, if people that you trust are saying, I don't love it. But then my mom, who, you know, she's not a huge movie connoisseur, I wouldn't say. She saw it this week, said, hey, I saw it. I liked it. It was fun. You know what I mean? It was kind of action. It's got lots of action in it. And I think it depends on what you're going to the theater for. If you're expecting some like super deep Jurassic story, I think they've already told some of their best stories. So then the action is what they have to rely on, and just seeing cool dinosaurs on the screen, right? So what about you, Mike? Do you like being part of the conversation even when it's, you know, a movie that we're excited about, and now it's the reviews are bad? Are you like, nope, like Pete, don't want to spend the time, don't want to spend the money necessarily? Or sorry, Adam, I should say. How do you feel?
Yeah, with this franchise, I just linked up because Adam was saying this movie, this movie, this movie. And I've seen them all, but I lost count. There's 7 of them, and it says this is number 7. So, I mean, wow. And it says that's kind of like going to the wells too many times. But
And they've had 4 in 10 years, which is crazy.
wow. And it says so. With I think it goes back to Jurassic with the word, and it just attracts you. You have that history of it when they first came out and everything else. I enjoyed when they brought some of the people back, and I don't know which one was it, what number, but it's good like that. But as in reviews, and it says I don't go by the reviewers. And it says, what I always see now is kind of lopsided. Like, if the reviewers say it's high and the audience say it's low, I go with the audience. And then if the audience says it's good and the reviewers say low, I still go with the audience. And it says, for some reason, that's always a flip flop. And it says, and you know, like a word of mouth. And they're like, example of this, I just watched yesterday, and it was a long time coming. Then he said I missed it. I didn't get a chance to go see it in theater. Sinners, and I saw it on HBO Max yesterday, and it was an excellent movie, and everything just what the people said. And they said this, the people said, and with YouTube and all you guys and everything, oh, this is a good movie, it's a good movie, a good movie. So I follow that, but there is sometimes when they start trashing a movie, and then it gets trashed from reviewers and the audience, and I get encouraged to go watch it. I know Adam said you can't get it back that time, but I'll wait till it gets on streaming. But this is I watch it because I want to see how bad it really is. And say, is it really that bad that everybody says? And sometimes I can say, yeah.
That's why. That's actually why I watched. That's Craven? Why I watched Madam Web and Craven. Yeah, those 2 movies. That's why I watched them. Was like, is it really that bad?
I haven't watched Madam Web, but I watched Craven. And I said, now I understand.
Yeah.
At least one of my favorite shows used to be Mystery Science Theater 3000. I don't know if you guys ever seen it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like these 2 guys, or this guy and these 2 robots. They goof on like the worst films of all time.
Yeah.
And
love it.
You can't. I mean, unless you want to be rude. You can't do that in a movie theater. But if you're home and I'm sitting with Emily, or I'm sitting with my wife, or all 3 of us are sitting there, we can sit there and we can just goof on the film if it's terrible. And just, you know, like we're like Beavis and Butthead or Mystery Science Theater. We can't do that in a theater.
100%, dude. 100%. And well said, Mike. Well said. Pete, what about you? How do reviews affect your decision to see a film? I can think of some great films, or at least great films in my heart that I love or have nostalgia for, that reviewed wise or horrendous. You know, Batman Forever being one of them. Lady in the Water back in the day. I loved Lady in the Water at the time. I don't know. Maybe that's divisive. It got horribly reviewed, like one of the worst reviewed movies of all time. I had a good time with that one. What about you, Pete? How does this sit with you?
We'll just address this specifically. I did see the film yesterday,
okay.
And I get what people are saying, but I really enjoyed it. I saw it in 4DX 3D, so it was the fully immersive experience. So you're getting thrown about, you got water flying in your face and everything. And I thought that was really well done. I'm not looking like Ricardo's. I'm not looking for Oscar-winning performances. To me, the original movie is an absolute masterpiece, one of Spielberg's best. Brilliant. That's fine. That's locked in the archives. No one can ruin that. I think from that point on, I've quite enjoyed all of them, but mainly just because I like seeing dinosaurs on screen. I'm not really bothered so much about the stories. It's event cinema for me. It is about just that experience, and I go with my son and my wife. We had a good laugh. We were laughing and joking, and being thrown out of our seats and stuff. And I didn't think, I couldn't think of anything in it that was terrible. I mean, if I had to criticise, there's like a genetic mutation dinosaur that comes in at the end. That was unnecessary. The rest of it is all kind of like, they're what they believe proper dinosaurs to have been. It was just that one was a bit unnecessary, but I think I mean, obviously the plot's very convoluted to get them to have to interact with 3 specific dinosaurs, one in the air, one in the sea, one on the land, but it makes for a fun adventure. So I would give this probably 7.5. I had good fun. I enjoyed it, and that's all I was looking for. I think in terms of reviews, they don't really bother me whatsoever. I think the only film I can think of in a long time, if not, in my recent memory, was that Borderlands film. I really enjoyed the game. The reviews were terrible, and I thought it'd be alright because it had got a good cast and stuff in it, but they said it was terrible, and I was like, you know what, it's not like I have to see it. It's not massive. I enjoyed the game, but they said it's so dreadful, I'm not going to waste my time. But in general, I've got my tickets booked for Superman. I've got the tickets booked for Fantastic Four. I hope they're both decent movies. They might turn out to be big steaming piles of crap, and that's fine. I don't mind. I'll turn up, and I'll give everything a fair go. I certainly don't go into anything expecting it to be rubbish and then go, oh, I was pleasantly surprised it wasn't rubbish. I go in with optimism, and I would probably enjoy the movie even if it's not the greatest thing going, just because cinema's it's a fun, it's a grand event. It's meant to immerse you, and you get kind of caught up in it and everything. Afterwards, you can come out and say, yeah, I didn't love that. I'm perhaps not going to buy the figures from it, when we get to Superman. Yeah. So no, I don't let reviews kind of sway me. I think if it was something that I'd never ever heard of and I saw it was getting rubbish reviews, I'd just be like, well, I won't bother. But obviously, sometimes there's like a sleeper hit that you've not heard of, and you start seeing that it's getting amazing reviews, and then I might think, oh, I'll go and watch that. I'll go and see if that's any good. But certainly not the low reviews putting me off. No.
Yeah, I agree with Pete, and it's with movies today. I think you just go in with optimism and just go in there blank-minded, which I'm going to be going in there on Wednesday this week, and with Superman, and just take it like it is, and we all hope the best and this and that. Hope it lives long and it gets a new generation that goes forth. And it says, but if you have a good time, if you walk out and have a good, a prime example is Thunderbolts. That financially bombed, but I had fun. I had a good time.
I think unfortunately a lot of people want these things to fail, whether it's because it's their job and they get more chat if they shit on things, or there's just a lot of people, like there's a lot of, I mean, there are some fantastic people in the hobby that we're in, but there are a lot of people that, like Ben, you've had some recent issues, that just want to shit on everything and make everyone feel bad about their collections. Oh, you've got all the same stuff as everyone else. So I think there's a lot of people that have a vested interest in shitting on these franchises, where actually, go in and with an open mind and you know see if you'll probably find you'll get something out of it.
A spicy review or a spicy take is almost always more interesting to people, it seems like,
Correct.
than
Yeah.
like,
No
oh, wow, that
question.
was really good. That was better than I expected. Sinners was one of those movies that, like Mike said, that was positively reviewed, and I was like, hey, okay, I wasn't planning to see that
Yeah.
in theaters, but I'll go see it. And like that did definitely have an impact. What were you gonna say, Adam?
I liked what Pete had some made me think about what some of his comments there. I know, kind of like movies as like an amusement park ride, and I think about what's been a game changer is streaming and the affordability of high quality large screen televisions. That a lot of people have 65, 75, 80-inch TVs, an affordable sound bar and streaming service. So people are now accustomed to watching these movies at home and getting a really good experience. So, I think back to when I was younger and we would see everything, whatever the reviews are, we'd still go because you didn't have streaming. And in order for, before you're able to see it on either HBO or at Blockbuster Video, it might be 6 months. It might be a year.
Oh, it used to be like
So,
3 years back in the
whatever
80s,
it
didn't
was.
it?
Yeah.
You saw it
So
turn
you
up on
had to go see
VHS,
that
yeah.
movie. And to Ben's point about being part of the conversation, if you didn't see the movie, it maybe you didn't see it when it first came out the first couple weeks. You waited till it came to the budget theater, the dollar theater, as used to call it near my house. But you saw it in the theater. Now the films are, if we're conditioned to know that within 45 days or a month, and maybe less, it'll be on either demand for streaming or HBO Max or Netflix or Disney Plus.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
turnaround time is
Absolutely.
so quick now, and it says before, it would be in the theater for a long time and quite a bit of period. So you can catch this movie, and it says, but now 2 or 3 weeks, your question is it still there? And you have to check and make sure if the movie's even still there.
So and so the role that the reviews have may have come a little more outsized in some way, and that's just and the audience scores too, because people are now deciding, okay, how do I want to spend? If you're taking your kids, you're talking like $75 maybe to go to a movie theater with popcorn, parking, babysitter, or when you're taking kids, you're not paying babysitter, but you know what I'm saying. And how are you going to spend your money? And if you're going to spend the money on that, you want what is a fun experience. So that's
agreed. It's funny though you mentioned the Blockbuster too, because I still remember if you did miss a movie in theaters and you did wait for all that time for it to finally come out on video or on DVD, that you get to the theater, or sorry, you get to the Blockbuster and you rush in on a Friday night and all the copies are on the wall with nothing behind them. Everybody'd already rented it, right? You're like, damn it, not gonna wait longer. And you
Terrible
hope that people actually bring it on time, or then you get like when it was still VHS, you get it all the way back to your house. You finally get to put it on, you stick it in the machine, and either still needs to be rewound, which would drive my dad nuts. He'd go ballistic, or the video wouldn't work. It would get chewed up in the VHS machine and it would screw the movie up. Like, there are so many things back then. So.
I mean, I think I agree with Adam. Like, I've got a projector and a nice screen and everything, and it's great. And quite often you think actually it's a better experience than going in because you haven't got other people and stuff like that. So that's why I tend to, when I was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I'd be going to the movies every Friday night, and we might see like 2 films in a night and everything.
Yeah.
It was cheap.
Same.
It was like you were young, you didn't have kind of commitments and family and stuff. So whereas now it's kind of quite a rare thing. I might only go and see, I'd say maximum 12 movies a year. I would have thought like 3 this month is a very rare month, where you've got the summer blockbusters. So I think I do still enjoy them, and where I can, I'll go for like a 4DX or an IMAX. So it gives me that extra element that I can't get at home. And so I make it that roller coaster ride, that experience that I can go. Yeah, it's cost a bit. It has cost a bit of money, but it's a nice day out with the family. We've had fun. We go out for a meal afterwards, and it's a nice day. So don't do it so often, but when you do, make it a little bit special, kind of thing. So
That's a
said,
very
well said.
selected movie to have that in 4D. That's a good movie right there, Jurassic
Yeah.
World.
Yeah,
And it's just
definitely.
to do all that. I could just
It's
imagine.
it's the most violently shaken I've ever been in a 4DX movie. It's like
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned violently shaken, Pete. I think I might have said this before, but on the Spider-Man No Way Home, that's the first time I'd ever been in
Yeah.
4DX, and I got myself a bag of mini eggs, and I ate like half the bag of mini eggs before the movie started. And then it was shaking me around so bad I got the worst heart pain or whatever you call it, heart indigestion. It's oh my god! And so I had to turn the seat completely off. For
oh
the rest of the
no,
movie.
oh no.
Yeah,
See, we ate afterwards, and after I'd had the meal, I said, "I'm glad
Yeah.
we did it this way round because I would have been seeing that again if I'd gone and watched the movie afterwards." So
Hell yeah. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are on reviews. Does positive reviews affect your ability or your decision to go see a film? Does the negative review do the same thing? Or are you like some of us who go, it can't be that bad. Let me go formulate my own opinion and, share it with, the community, the people who want to have a voice, right? And I think, don't review a movie if you haven't seen it. I think that's the big thing that I don't love. Don't be critical of something you haven't even seen yet. It's like eating your broccoli, right? How do you know you don't like it if you've never tried it? How do you know you won't like it if you haven't seen it? Even if you don't like the director, or maybe you don't like some of the actors, it still could be great and it still might change your mind. So, but that's the optimistic side of myself. Let's move into our last entertainment news topic before we jump into all of our 6 scale news that we've got today, because I want to keep the show moving for us here, guys. James Gunn says it's less likely for Batman to have trunks, which made me laugh. I saw the article and I read it, and I'm like, you know what? All he's really saying is he's kind of responding to some of the negative criticism of Superman having trunks on again. But when I close my eyes, Superman has the trunks. He just does. Whether it's comic book representations, toy representations. I loved Man of Steel, and I loved the look of Man of Steel. Don't get me wrong. I also still really loved Superman Returns, and of course Christopher Reeve versions of Superman. I liked those too. I don't care if he's wearing trunks necessarily, as long as the film is good, right? If the film is garbage, I'm not going to be like, but at least he was wearing red underwear. You know what I mean? But in reverse, if the movie is amazing, it's not going to be attributed to that either. I just think it is part of an iconic Superman look, and I like it. But I would argue that Batman has a very similar iconic look to him, right? I put the slides up here and a couple of different comic representations, whether they're black shorts or they're blue. He has it in a lot of his comic representations, and in film we haven't really got that yet. It's always been a much more realistic version of the Batsuit, something that you might actually be able to get physically constructed in order to protect yourself, being a human in a Batman suit out fighting crime, right? It's like armor, and with the exception, of course, of Adam West, which I would say Adam West is the closest to a comic book representation, at least in my memory. I know there's been some earlier versions than even Adam West, but he would be the oldest one for me, and he was the closest to this. And Adam West did look kind of freaking silly in his Batman outfit. I know that there are huge fans of the Adam West Batman, and no shade to you folks, but he looked a little silly in the outfit, right? But could it look really cool like the comic representation? Maybe. So my question for you, Pete, I'll start with you. How do the blue trunks affect Batman? Is this something that you would want to see now that we're getting red trunks with Superman? Does it even matter? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, trunks all the way for me. I think when we talked about potential Batmans a couple of shows ago, we all a lot of us went for the guy from Reacher. And I said then that I'd like to see
Alan Ritchson.
I'd like to see a paired Batman. I'd like to see him in the grey, not spandex, but the tight grey with the blue. That to me is iconic. I think the closest we probably got to that sort of suit was with Ben Affleck, because it wasn't armor as such. It wasn't a tech outfit. Obviously he didn't have trunks, but then nor did Superman, so they kind of ditched them there because they wanted to go kind of mega serious. But for me, Superman always trunks, and the same with Batman. To me, it's iconic. Now, obviously, and so in a way, it's quite cool because he's almost sort of hinting that it will be the Batman representation will be more like the original. The fact that we're talking about trunks means that he's going to be in a more pared back
Comic
suit
inspired.
Correct. Yeah, I think than a like a Batman Dark Knight Rises or something like that, where it's a tech armor thing. So, yeah, and the fact that we've brought, they've got crypto in this movie. It's going back to the comics, and they're kind of putting stuff in that they're not scared to put in and go, oh, people are just going to think this is rubbish. So I think, that classic, that look on the left there, to me, it would be brilliant if that's the Batman we saw.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Adam, James Gunn was recently on record saying that Guardians of the Galaxy was his love letter to cinema, whereas Superman will be his love letter to comics. What do you think about blue trunks on a Batman in a comic-inspired James Gunn world?
I think it's a must, and I have to think that James Gunn is floating a trial balloon here to gauge the reaction among fans, and whether they're pro-trunk or anti-trunk. And I think if you're gonna, which it seems, and we haven't seen it yet, but it seems everything I have seen that he's definitely going for a very comic-inspired Superman, and that's the direction he's going in with the DC Universe films. If that's where he's going with Batman, I think we other than Adam West, we haven't seen the traditional colors, including the trunks, in a Batman outfit. I think that's the way to go. Because you can, unlike Marvel, DC has kind of been loath to, they kind of run away from the comics in some respect and try to tell a darker tale. And the tales I've loved, I mean, I love the Nolan trilogy, and I think that outfit looks cool, but I'd like to see, you can have a darker Batman, but still ring true to the comics. And that's one thing, James Gunn, having done time with Marvel, that Marvel's proved that you can have superheroes that look like they do in the comics and still tell a grounded story.
Absolutely. It's even one of the reasons that I put this picture up with him and with the orange in the background, because he's wearing trunks there too, but that they don't look like, it doesn't look like a diaper. It looks like a badass part of his outfit. You know what I mean? And I think that they could do it well. I can see an Alan Richardson in a suit like the one on the left here, with the gray and the blue and the big utility belt belt and the yellow emblem. That could be freaking awesome, especially with his stature, right? I love the Adam West for what it was, and I said he looked silly earlier. But I mean, it wasn't. They didn't look like superheroes necessarily back then in terms of their physique, right? They were just normal guys wearing a Batman outfit. I wouldn't look that. Yeah. I wouldn't look that great in it either, So, but Tijuana Mike, you're surrounded by Batman. What are your thoughts here? Because obviously the red, shorts have been kind of controversial for people with the new Superman outfit. Does it matter to you?
No, I mean, if it's okay with the Superman going back, and this is just like Adam said, is going back to the old school, the comics and everything else. And it says, as in for the Batman, I do have numerous Batmans, and majority of them are, the newer Batmans are black and just armor, real hard armor, and everything else. When you get into something like this, it says that's when you get into that picture right there, and how everything just pops, and the yellow and everything else,
right,
and so forth. So that would be something that would look good, live on screen. Something different to that effect. But even with you, man, you said you still have this one. It says that we're going from the animation, and with the trunks and the black and very dark. This could be the one that could be dark, but not too dark, not have to be totally armor or anything to that effect.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, you're right. The animated series Batman tonally still took a really dark, run at it, right? While still being colorful and vibrant at times. He was also able to really hide in the shadows, and that blue was almost like pearlescent on his outfit, right? You get pops of it, and of course that was because of how it was drawn on black paper back then as well. It was really cool to have that for that artwork.
Interesting that Mike's got an X-Men t-shirt on, because I think that was the epitome of not like the Bryan Singer X-Men movies, where they just really didn't feel like they could go comic book, so it was all black leather and all that kind of thing, and it's only recently that obviously right to Wolverine Deadpool that we've seen that outfit on
And people went crazy for it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
People went crazy for it. They
Yeah.
were like, "Hell yeah! Finally, he's in his yellow." I mean, and
Yeah.
they nodded to that for years. I feel like, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even right
Yeah.
from the very first film, the Bryan Singer film, right? They mention it when they're in the jet, right? What did you expect? Yellow spandex,
Yeah.
right? Like,
But back in 2000, they just couldn't see that people could accept something that was that bright and vibrant. They had to be, grungy.
and back
dark
then
and stuff.
we might not have. Honestly, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to know, right? It is hard to know. Because I even think of like Batman and Robin, right? And while that movie wasn't great, people felt like it was too campy and like it was
Chill.
like, yeah, right. And it just was not. It just couldn't take itself seriously either, right?
Yeah.
So, but great thoughts, guys. What do you think out there, everybody watching live or on the replay of Batman in trunks or not? I think if people see this new James Gunn film, The Superman, and people love it, then I think it will open up their minds to being a little bit more forgiving of then whatever approach comes.
Yeah.
Right? If the movie doesn't do well, obviously it's going to squash the whole DC universe down pretty aggressively, and people will automatically decide that the next one, no matter what it looks like or how it is going to be shit.
I think it's difficult sometimes, like just to quickly go in there, Ben, is what does make a movie, because so many of these movies will just make $1 billion straight off the bat, just because of it's a big, people will go and see. So how does a studio judge whether or not it's been a success? Just because it makes $1 billion, I mean, obviously that is a success to them because they've made profit. But I think so many of these big movies just zoom to that point, and then I think it's like, how do you? Is it literally just the money? I suppose it is at the end of the day. If it makes the money, they'll make another one.
I think money deems the success for the studios, but I do think the positive word of mouth or negative word of mouth really will change the dynamic, right? Like I think about how Ben Affleck, really, I think he got the raw end of the stick. He never got his own Batman film, which was shitty. He wasn't my favorite Batman, but I think it's still shitty that he didn't get his own Batman.
Aquaman got 2,
right? Well, right, and then when Robert Pattinson got put in the role of Batman, people were like, "Really? Like Pattinson? Like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, Twilight Boy, right? Like, no chance."
Yeah.
But then his movie was great, and now that we're gonna get another Batman, people are like, "Well, why not Robert Pattinson? We already like Pattinson. Like, why can't Matt Reeves and James Gunn work together and fit like?"
Yeah.
But the public perception of Batman changed, right? At first, it was like Affleck, should have got another chance. It's not fair to him. We're not going to necessarily support the new Batman. But then when people saw it, they were like, okay, I can support it. And while I still think he got the raw end of the stick, I'm happy we still got the new film that we got from Matt Reeves. I think Superman might be the same way. People love Henry Cavill, right? They love him. I love him too. He was an awesome Superman. When I saw Man of Steel for the first time, I was like, that dude is Superman. Holy crap, right? I loved him for it. And I think he got the raw end of the deal that he didn't get a Man of Steel too. But I think if this new film is good and people really say, okay, you know what? Still got the raw end of the stick, but I'm still happy for the progression. I'm still happy to see the universe shift. I'm excited for the future. I think that will truly be a success, at least with regards to comic book films.
The other thing I don't really understand about DC though is like Marvel. You had the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it was one version, and it was all flowing. Here you've got potential new Batman in this universe. You've got the Pattinson one that's coming back for a second movie. You've got Joker, which probably isn't going to get a third movie now. How do you guys? I'm not so sure that I like all these different versions of the same things going on at the same time. It seems very disjointed and like they're not quite sure where to go with stuff.
I think if they just made it a little bit more clear that it was an Elseworlds story, for example, if they called it like Elseworlds Batman story, then people could go, okay, fair enough. It's like it's canon, but it's not necessarily the canon, right? Similar to What If for Marvel, right? Some of those, I think all of it's now been made canon, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's like gives you the ability to at least look into non-canon universes, even if there's canon characters in there, right? And so maybe that's it. But what do you think, Adam?
I think that's an issue that they're facing right now. That how to market this, because we understand that it's Elseworlds, but if they don't specifically do that, and now they're really hoping that they got a hit here at Superman. They have Supergirl coming up. They have a Lantern series. They're trying to get this Brave and the Bold Batman film off the ground. But then they have this Batman 2, and they need to reach more than us to make this a success. And so if they're going to confuse people, if we're not sophisticated about these films, well, what's going on with the Batman? It's darker. If they're trying to go for a lighter tone, somewhat more family friendly tone with the Brave and the Bold. I think they realize that internally, and I think there's the politics of Hollywood. What the biggest problem they have? The Penguin was so good and it was success. I think some people in DC were hoping that would be a failure, so that they can just brush this aside. But then the Penguin was a hit with viewers and with critics, and so now they're kind of in a catch-22.
Now they have to finish a story for it. Yeah, that's a great thought too. But yeah, guys, let us know what your thoughts are on Batman here, Blue Trunks, kind of the conversation that we've been having today. Would love your feedback and thoughts on it.
When is the premiere for Superman? Is it tomorrow, or did they already have it? I mean, it's coming out. I'm going to see it on Wednesday, so the premiere's got to be either.
I know for worldwide, I think it's the 11th. I think there's some early access screenings within the next couple days. So Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever it is. So I don't get to see it until like Friday. Was it the 11th Friday? You hate to see it. Guys, I got to move on, though, because we got some 6 scale news. We got 50 people watching live. Thank you so much for getting nuts with us here on Sunday. I definitely appreciate you all joining us, of course. Some quick housekeeping here. So as of last week, we upgraded our channel membership. So these are, of course, what I now refer to as the Hall of Nut Armor. Anybody who's becoming a brand new channel member is now starting off as a Nut Buster and then progressing through all of the tiers over time. However, we also have the ability to turn yourself into a Nut King. So if you want a channel member sticker assigned with every tier level that you're in, sent to you every single month, then join up to become one of the Nut Kings. You can see all of our kings there on the right hand side, as well as our newest king today, Mr. Manny Fresh 369. If you just want to be a regular classy Nut member, I'll still make sure we give you shout outs. You still show up in our end credits every time, every video, and of course you'll see your Nut badges beside your name, as well as all of the different emojis that you get access to, which you can see here on this screen. But last but not least, I wanted to make it more clear for the Nut Kings who are now slightly higher pay tier, exactly what you'll receive. So you'll receive all Nut badges and stickers up to your current tier level. So if you've been a classy Nut for a year, that means that you're going to get all of the Nut King stickers up to, of course, that Bub Nut status. You'll receive 2 extra Mystery Nut stickers per year. So we're going to be holding a vote here very soon of the now 13 Nut Kings that we have, of what should be the next Nut sticker. It can be any superhero or like comic hero or literally film hero or villain, anybody. It doesn't matter. If it's not a Nut sticker now, if you like Nut Spider-Man, we'll get a Spider-Man made if that's the one that wins, right? So I know Collecting Weekly, he's hoping for a Gandalf Nut. So we'll see how that goes. But, oh, 1 second. Sorry, guys. All of a sudden... I'm so sorry. Somehow my phone connected to my headset and all of a sudden started playing a random YouTube video on my phone. That tripped me out so much. Wow. You can also get a chance to vote on the Mystery Nut sticker design every 6 months. You'll get a crown beside your username. You'll also get a Let's Get Nuts emoji sticker random duck race giveaways. So of some of our emojis that we have here, I'm also going to be creating stickers out of those and sending them out randomly to people in that group. And then, of course, you get all previous member perks. One thing I wanted to highlight, though, really quickly, if you are already a Nut King or you're thinking of becoming a Nut King, please scan this QR code. It is a link to a form that allows me to get your information so I can ship you the Nut stickers. The Nut stickers have been ordered. So put your information there, your address, your full name, all of that. It's private. Nobody else gets to see that information but me. But then that way I can mail you out your stickers. Yeah, that's perfect. So use that.
I'm an expensive one for you, Ben, but you know.
That's okay. Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. So, so guys, let's say hi to our chat.
Is that everyone? I can want it more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
Nuts assemble. We had earlier Valkyrie Magnus here. Says, have a great show today, Ben Thomas. Catch the replay later. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here as always. Mr. Ron E in the chat with us. Mr. Adrian Underwood. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you, buddy. King Ding-a-ling here with us as well once again. Thalia Meyer. My apologies. Good to see you here, my friend, as always. Mr. 1 Adam 12th on the panel as well as in the chat. You'll love to see it. Saying hi to everybody. Wanting everybody to get nuts. We got our newest channel king here, Mr. Manny Fresh 369. Let's get nuts. You'll love to see it, buddy. Figure Proser, one of our channel members as well. Thanks for being here. Mr. Jose Plus, Jose G. Hernandez. Make sure you go and follow the Jose Plus YouTube channel. Love that guy. Mr. Dammit Spock here. Greetings from jolly old England. Great to see you. Jedi 291 as well. Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. Here from Saskatoon. Look at that. A fellow Canadian. You love to see it. Not too far away from me, actually. 12-inch Moose Dream, of course, one of our greatest channel members here. Hello, community of collectors. I received a DX07 in beautiful shape. 2-pack. Top notch. I'm pretty jealous, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. That's a sweet one. We got Mr. Adrian Underwood. Enjoyed Westworld, but agree went downhill. That's too bad to hear. I'm enjoying the show so far. I'll let you guys know how it goes for me. Mr. CG. I'm just waiting for that Kitty and Colossus 2-pack. Absolutely. I know you've been rooting for that one for a while. Tijuana Mike, aka King Chiro, of course, here in the channel and on the panel with us today as well. We got Mr. Geo, the movie canon, saying hi to Moose and everybody, of course, in the chat. Make sure you go and check out the movie canon's show this evening. Can you remind me what time frame that is, Mike? I forget.
I got for me it's 6 Pacific.
6 Pacific time. Geo, the movie canon. Make sure you check it out. Lots of great panelists going to be on that show tonight. Some of my boys. We got here 1/6 figure focus. He says, "Where's Ben? All I see is David Cornsweat. I'm going to shave my head then, sir." As a result, we got Sith Scale Collector here with us. What's up, boys? Have a great show. Good to see you, Mike. Thanks for being here as always. Make sure you check out Mike's_Adventure World on Instagram. He's been making me some really cool prints lately. I actually reached out to him the other day to ask him if he could look into making me a Han Solo in carbonite 3D print and painting it for me to go in behind my Boba Fett figure. So he's going to look into that and try and work something out for me. He's also going to be printing me a gargoyle base for my Batman Begins figure to stand on now that he's got the big long Jackson Jew cape. So stay tuned for that. Once I get those in hand, I'll definitely give him a review. But Mike's_Adventure World. We got Ricardo Coughlin in the chat with us here as well, saying hi to everybody. He says Jurassic Park wasn't worth his money, he felt, which wasn't a deterrent for people to see it. He just felt it wasn't for him. Batman_Collectibles. It's a dinosaur movie. You should know what you're in for. That's fair. But still, it's money and time, and you want to enjoy content, right? Shouldn't be an excuse for it to be not a good movie either. Mr. Pop Culture Relics Luis in the chat with us. Hey all, sorry for the delay. Good to see everyone. We got what is this? Qual TV or Qual TYV? That's a hard one to say, my friend, but cool photo as well. Give me the trunks and make him blue and a yellow emblem, and then put the big T-Rex and the penny in his bat cave. 100%. Alex Serrato in the chat with a jumbo. We got my good friend here, Vita, aka Her Geeky Side. Good evening, all nuts. Good to see you here, as well as to your man, Mr. James. And then Feel the Burn, saying hi to Vita and everybody else in the chat. You love to see it. Guys, if I missed anybody, I apologize. Shout me out, and I will give you a quick call out. Let's move on because we've got some figure news to talk a little bit about today. First of all, I want to start with the J&D post that they sent up this week. Now, J&D has shown us what their new Harvey Dent Two-Face is going to be. And, you know, I've been on record here saying that over the last little while, I think the J&D is just too expensive. They've also had some recent controversy lately with regards to the endoskeleton skull that's in their piece. There was a collector out there, I can't remember his name, tore the sculpt apart and realized that there actually wasn't a full skeleton head underneath, and that it was really almost just kind of like a jaw section. So to me, that felt a little false advertising. They did follow that up with a reason for why they couldn't do it and so on and so forth, but I would still think that that was part of our pre-order arrangement, and I would be frustrated if I was a collector by that. Having said that, the likeness here to Two-Face and Harvey Dent, or Aaron Eckhart, the actor, is pretty freaking incredible. I've got the 2019 Hot Toys version that you see there on the left. Definitely no slouch, honestly. It was a great figure, and that at the time was a 2.0 back in 2019, which is already 6 years ago. They're almost at that 3.0 stage, let's be honest. And J&D's looks pretty great overall. I have no idea what the price of this is going to be yet, so that's going to be definitely a wait and see. I just am shocked that we're still going so heavily on the Dark Knight films. If I'm being honest, it's one of my favorite trilogies, if not my favorite trilogy of all time. But now that I've got the majority of the display and behind me, I feel pretty happy with what I've got. As I said, I'm happy with my current Two-Face, but there are some that missed out on this. And one criticism I had of the Hot Toys was that the kind of the charred side of his face, it could have been better. The painting could have been better. I think that there is room for improvement, at least on that one, just like they've given us with Bane or Scarecrow or some of these other characters. I would not be surprised to see a 3.0 of Two-Face, Mr. Adam 1, Adam 12th. But what are your thoughts here on the J&D Two-Face?
Well, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a J&D figure. And
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Or the J&D hero. Yeah.
the J&D figure.
Nice.
I have the Hot Toys 2.0 of Harvey Dent as well. I think it's a really good figure. It's if Hot Toys is if Hot Toys is the Corvette, then I think J&D wants to be the Lamborghini or something. And I guess some people want to drive a Lamborghini. Okay, if you can afford a Lamborghini, have fun. But I'm happy with the Corvette.
Absolutely. Mr. 1 Adam 12th, just to interrupt you here quick. Mr. Ronnie here says, I have to check out early and going with Hot Toys Superman. The vibrancy is what made me want the figure in the first place. Make sure you check out the rest of the conversation on replay when you get a chance to later, good sir. Thanks for being a channel member. Enjoy your evening and for stopping in, as always. It's hard, Adam, though, because I know a lot of collectors who really want the best representation of a character that exists, especially if it's one of their favorite characters. And while this character was fantastic in The Dark Knight, he was certainly overshadowed by Heath Ledger's Joker performance. And so I don't think he honestly gets the love for his performance that he may have if virtually anybody else was in, his opposing villain role, like the Joker, right? But it was still a great character. I'm not always the one that's willing to kind of, go with the option I already have. I like upgrading my figures. Superman, that we're going to talk about later, was a great example of that this week. I pre-ordered the Hot Toys, and then the very next day I had an opportunity to pre-order something I felt was technically better. What do you do as a collector, right? This looks amazing, but like you said, it's Lamborghini prices for a character that we already have that's already relatively well represented. And I think 6 scale has no business being in this price point, if I'm being fully honest. What about you, Mike? What are your thoughts here on J&D overall at this point, kind of with what they've put out there, and then this figure?
I love the character. I do not have one from Hot Toys, so it's interesting. But I know J&D just to me is just overpriced. It's not worth the Lamborghini price on that. But, and he said, you just mentioned last week, and he says, I got the same character. We went and got the Scarecrow. And it says from Batman. So the Scarecrow, I mean, that's a nice, beautiful piece from Hot Toys. And it says, so I wouldn't mind and hope that they did, well, you say this was a 2 point, on the left is Hot Toys, right?
On the left is Hot Toys, yeah.
Yeah,
and
so
that was technically a 2.0 at the time.
That's a 2.0, so we need a 3.0. We need to upgrade on that. I can see the painting and everything, but I would like to get that in my thing, but not through J&D. And it says I would like it to go through Hot Toys, maybe get a 3.0, and we can add that to the collection next to Scarecrow and everybody else.
Absolutely.
And just to add on to that, my Bane, I missed that train for Bane Hot Toys, but I got myself a third-party one, which I couldn't even tell the difference. Nobody
Absolutely.
Can do it, yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. The Bane is incredible, honestly. It's incredible. But even with the Hot Toys 2.0 Bane, I still liked some elements of the 1.0 as well, which is interesting. I mean, you said you see this here and you're like immediately like, yep, they should definitely upgrade that. Sorry, my girlfriend's just buzzing into our apartment building. But at the same time, the price is the deterrent for me when it comes to J&D. And again, I feel like they were a little bit deceptive with regards to that endoskeleton skull that's now being kind of shown to be not exactly the case. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, guys. Pete, I'll skip you on this one, buddy, because I'm interested in what you have to say about Star Trek here. I know not everybody is a Star Trek fan, but we do have a couple pieces of news, honestly. Look at this. Open the door, she says. You'll have to see it. Sorry. I'm trying to run a show here, you know? It's hard. I'm multitask. I'm trying to listen to the... I mean, it's hard.
She
But
not
anyways.
she not got keys yet.
No, she had a key, but then they had to change the locks on our apartment door because somebody broke in a couple weeks ago, and I haven't recut them yet for her. So
that's bad. Did you
she has
lose
to work off
anything,
the
or-
buzz system. No, thankfully not. It was I live in a big apartment building, so. But
Right, okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah, but Exo6 here has got a Gorn figure coming up this week, which originally was supposed to, it sounds like, have a pretty limited run, and then they actually updated that news to say, well, not as limited. We'll just give an early bird 300, and then the regular order will go into effect, so people can still buy this. And so, I do think it looks pretty cool. Honestly, if I'm being 100%, Exo6 has actually done a really good job of impressing me with their alien characters. Not as much with all their human figures, unfortunately. I've seen some updated Wesley Crusher photos this week that I was like, God, I was not wrong about that in my hot take video.
That's a low
And
point.
in my hot take video, just to be clear, I challenged Exo6. I said, if I am wrong, if this figure improves, I will make a video on this channel that says I was wrong about Wesley Crusher. I'm not going to be making that video, folks. I'm not going to be making that video.
Saved you the effort.
But what are your thoughts here on the Gorn as well? And I'm going to give you kind of an opportunity to talk overall about Star Trek here, Pete. So Gorn, of course, the upgrade here is happening with Sulu. Sulu apparently is getting an upgrade to his outfit because only the detailed collectors would not recognize the difference, apparently. And so there's going to be a delay on Sulu. Worf came out this week, Pacifist Worf, which I did make a video on. It nobody watched, so I think honestly most people aren't that excited about this one. Literally 300 people in the entire world watched that video. You hate to see it. And then Wesley Crusher, like I said, came out soft as hell with some QC issues. So tell us what stands out to you here for the Exo6 Star Trek news today, buddy.
I think I'm a little bit scared to say anything about Nanjun here because he'll probably hunt me down and cancel
Paramount
my Sulu
will shut him down.
pre-order. But he spins yarns. He's really frustrating. So yeah, Gorn was going to be 300, and he kept saying, well, actually, it's going to be more like 280 because I've got to send 10 to Paramount and all this sort of thing. So he starts building up this massive hype, and everyone's kind of like, right, okay. And I suppose, you know, the problem is it's quite a niche character. There's no original series crew to go with him. So it's a real odd one. I think, you know, a lot of people are gearing up to try and get this and probably, you know, flip him on the aftermarket. So I kind of get that they've gone, do you know what? We've put a lot of effort and R&D into this. Why don't we make it a larger run? So they've kind of backtracked a bit and they've said, well, actually, you know, we still want this crazy scramble for you to try and get the 300. It just means you'll get them like now. But obviously they are going to probably sort of reel in some extra people who want to get the shot at the 300. So they, you know, it's kind of like a bit like a Kickstarter kind of thing. They're going to get quite a lot of pre-orders, I think. But and obviously the Sulu thing's really annoyed me because I've got the Sulu on order, and you know, all of a sudden now he's been dropped back behind Valeris and Chang. He's saying September, but I mean, you know, if he's got to completely redesign the jacket just because, from what I hear, the black bits go a bit too high up on his back. And in the comments, people were saying, well, like, nobody's going to pose him with his back to you.
Yeah,
we don't care.
Why delay it?
But then he's like, oh well, if it's not accurate, then there's no point in us doing it. So we're completely beholden to this crazy guy who, you know, and Adam made some really good sort of analogies in our chat, like when we were looking at the show, you know, releasing the Last Jedi Luke and Leia and saying, oh, you know, eventually you might get the original trilogy ones, but you got to buy these ones first. So it's almost like he's, and he said it, he wants his own Star Trek museum. and he knows that he's not going to get these. I mean, he could have one-offs made, I suppose, but he's he's all in for everything because obviously he owns the company, so he's going to have one of each. But it's ridiculous, really, that we still haven't got a single 63 to 66. Oh, sorry,
original
whatever
bridge
they
crew.
are. 66, yeah, original bridge crew, like not Mirror, not Cage.
Yeah.
And people, he knows that people are buying these figures just as a sort of a stopgap. They want a Spock, so they've bought the Cage one or they've bought the Mirror one. Yeah, I don't think there's actually that many people that want that version, but they want a representation of that character. So it's very clever, but it's also quite devious as well. And obviously, I'm kind of, I don't know. I've ordered Sulu. But if he starts pissing about and we end up, he's not coming out this year, it's going to annoy me. And I'd love to have the whole of that episode, the Undiscovered Country crew, which he's going to say is going to be his swan song, this box set. But you just don't. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. And this thing's horrendous. It's about not even just the face, but just the whole body, the way the
finish,
the boots are horrible. But again, it's just I don't know who's. I think Ian's ordered this, and he even knows it's bad, but he just wants that. I mean, to be honest, I don't really see Wesley as part of the crew. To be honest, if I was collecting Next Gen, I wouldn't need Wesley. He's just annoying. But I would love to have
Wesley.
I would love to have a original series crew as well, but it's just like, when's it coming? And also the problem is once he's got all this chaff out of the way, all the good stuff's going to come so quick that you're going to have quite a stock of money to be able to, because if you miss out on these as well, it doesn't. There's no second run, there's no spares, there's nothing. So you have to jump on them, and if all of a sudden you've got to shell out for like 7 original series bridge crew across the space of 6 months, that's quite an ask, isn't it? So,
well, and I've heard Pete say, I've had people tell me that I'm wrong in my assessment to ask for either some level of like mapping or plan for their releases, because if they were to give me bridge uniform Worf tomorrow, I'd buy it immediately.
Yeah, you wouldn't buy this guy. Yeah,
but I don't need pacifist Worf in my displays, so I'm willing to pass on it. I'm willing to wait for the next one. But I've seen people make the argument to me, well, they're only giving you some of these adjacent characters to help fund some of the other characters because they're worried they're going to blow their load too quickly or blow their nut, depending. They're going to blow their nut quickly if everybody buys all the characters they want first, and then they're not going to go after these arbitrary characters. And I think that's wrong, because people who started collecting Exo 6 when I did all these years ago, and like I seem to be the only one who covers Exo 6 these days, because so many people have fallen off. They're either not giving us the characters we want, or we finally do get some of the characters we want, and sometimes even within the same line there's differences in quality. I like a lot of my Star Trek Next Generation figures, but this Wesley looks like shit. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even if I wanted to collect the full bridge crew with Wesley, that's now one that I have to omit on, because he won't look the same quality as the Geordie LaForge that's standing beside him. Like, how does that make any
I thought he
sense
looked
at
more
all?
like Jadzia Dax than
100%.
Wesley.
And at the end of the day, and again, if the argument is that, well, no, they don't want us to blow our wallets too early on getting all the characters we want, so they'll give us these characters to fund those others, I think that's a horrible business strategy. Because all it's going to do is tell people, you're telling your collectors, like, you may or may not get eventually everything you actually want.
And there's always
but you
these
should still
threats,
buy
aren't
it.
there?
You should still invest in this anyways.
Like one of the comments there saying about, well, we've got to pay people's, put food on people's tables, and we're always that, that far from going bust. So it's almost like trying to make people feel sorry for them, and we're so we want these figures so much that people are going, oh, do you know what? Actually, I'll pick this one up, and they kind of convince themselves they want it, even though they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, I know you had some similar spicy feelings this week about it.
Yes.
What are your thoughts here on Trek and everything?
So just briefly, let me just set the table. I am a lifelong Star Trek fan. I've been a fan of Star Trek since I was 3 years old. My aunt introduced me to the original series. Fan of the original series. I've met some of the actors, got their autograph. I met Shatner, Mark Leonard. I'm not going to go through the whole detail, but I met a lot of these guys. I'm a fan. Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. I'm not as fan of much of the new Trek, but I like the everything's nothing really too much since Enterprise. So I'm a collector. So having said all that, let me just go 1,000 yards up. Maybe let me go up into space and the final frontier before I talk specifically about X06. It shows you how far this franchise has fallen. That Paramount, major corporation, with their, I think what should be one of the most cherished IPs, Star Trek, that they have let the franchise fallen this far down. That a 2-bit company like X06 is the one responsible for doing the 1/6 figures, because there are several other companies that seem to have their stuff together that can get things done. Sometimes there's some delays. No company's perfect, but this Star Trek should be a brand that Hot Toys or Inart or Caustic Plastic or Sideshow itself, which they do a pretty reasonable job in their stuff. I have some of their figures, not perfect, but much more consistent. They should be doing Star Trek, not X06. But we're stuck with X06 because Paramount has let Star Trek wither and die on the vine. Now, X06. You guys have said it. It just boggles my mind. I've been a 1/6 collector for 2 years, but prior to being a collector, I watched Ben. I watched your channel. I watched all the channels. I do my homework. I was following this for a while before I took the plunge. And on Sideshow, I put on reserve or interested for the Wrath of Khan figures. That was over 2 years ago, and we still don't have Wrath of Khan, Kirk, Spock, McCoy. Where are these figures?
No, we've got Savick.
And I do have Savick. It's a pretty good figure. And the original series, where's Kirk, Spock, McCoy?
yeah.
Ahura, Scotty, Sulu, Chekhov. I had it. You know what I did? I went to eBay and I saw that QMX, years ago. And I guess Nanjin used to work at QMX.
Yeah.
That they're out there. And I paid through the nose to get Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Khan. And I like those figures.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
How could you produce the Gorn and not have a Captain Kirk to go with it?
I know.
What? And not even any announced plans for Kirk to go with him. I mean, that's one of the most iconic scenes in all of Star Trek, the episode Arena, where Kirk fought the Gorn. What? Yeah. So, as Ben, you said there's no plan here. There's no plan for a plan. And you get a lot of nonsense. And, you get the QC issues. Now, I have some of the figures. I do have Picard. I have Geordi. I have Data. I have Savick. And I also have from from the motion picture, I have Kirk, Spock, and I just got Disco McCoy. And,
nice. Yeah.
I like them. They're interesting, but why don't we have some of their choices? I don't understand. And in terms of, we got to produce some of the obscure characters, because if we just produce the main characters, no one will get the other stuff. No, I mean, there's so many, just like Star Wars. You got Hoth Luke, you got Jedi Luke, Mando Luke, X-wing fighter, Snowspeeder Luke, Farm Boy Luke. Well, you can have Picard, season 1 and 2 with the lack of collar. Then season 3, he gets the collar.
Yeah, fans will buy him.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many iterations of these characters that they could do, and fans will keep getting them. But he's not doing that. So I don't get the strategy. It's very disappointing. But I think I got to give a lot of blame to Paramount, because this is what happens when you let a cherished franchise wither.
But it's not even as if he's putting in a key figure every now and again. Like, right, okay, we're going to do Kirk, and then you might not get Spock for 6 months, but at least you're hooked. But there's no view on it at all, is there? He just says,
That's
yeah,
why I
they'll be
said-
coming. You know.
Well, that's why I said, Pete, if there was a plan, I would
Yeah.
still there would still be figures that I would skip, but then there would be figures that I would then purposely plan for as well. Whereas I think a lot of people are just jumping ship because they're like, okay, well, I haven't got the ones that I wanted. Who cares? And they've sold off the other figures that they've already bought or whatever because they're like, yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, why am I waiting if I'm maybe left unsatisfied? Even the next generation, I've been on, like, they started doing pretty well with that. Then I really didn't like Wesley. Beverly, I'm waiting from Sideshow to get that one. I'm still kind of lukewarm on her figure, but we still need Deanna Troy. What's Deanna going to look like?
Yeah.
What's Riker going to look like? Their facial hair has been pretty hit or miss, but this Worf looks pretty good with his facial hair. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe if this Worf can look this good, then TNG Worf better look just as good, right? But then I think about, again, sometimes I feel like I'm being scammed a little bit because I then think about some of their other releases. Like, you see how good this Worf looks, and if you're a Star Trek fan, I think you can recognize this figure objectively looks fantastic. Mm-hmm. But then you see this Janeway in the same shelf from the same company, and you're like, I'm being scammed. This is like, that's not the same. It's not the same quality.
And they showed that, I don't know what it's called, but his band thing. Like, they showed that, they teased that on his next gen uniform, literally like 2 years ago. And they said, we put so much work into it and everything. Well, it's just, it's a wind up.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Mike, do you have any thoughts on Star Trek before we move on, bud?
Yeah, real quick. And said, leave that picture on. Take that figure and go back in where the bathroom is and flush it down the toilet. And it says, I'm not a Star Trek collector. It says so, but I know of the show. I've seen different pieces. This guy is terrible, and it says so. I can understand. I brought this up in Collector's Figure last week regarding Star Wars figures and Star Trek figures, and it says they just seem like. I feel sorry for Star Trek collectors because it seems like getting figures and getting good quality figures is like pulling your own teeth. It's just a struggle to get something. You might have that Gorn, which is they do. It seems like X06. I've never bought anything from them. They said it looks like that's good. I've seen that episode. I said, but what about a Paper Rock, or what about Kurt and everything else to go with it? It seems like it's instead of saying hit or miss, it seems there's a lot of misses before you get a hit. And it's just I really feel for Star Trek collectors is just because it's a hard road to go down, and I don't know why it is, because Star Trek is it's just as equal as Star Wars as a franchise. It was there before Star Wars, so but I think they have a strong fan base and everything else, and the shows after shows after shows, the TV shows and everything else. I mean the fan base is there. I wanted to put out some decent product.
Absolutely. And I'll end cap this portion of the discussion by saying, and to reiterate, I don't have these criticisms with the intention of being negative or with the intention of getting extra clicks or with the intention of being divisive for the sake of being divisive. I really love Star Trek. I have my entire life. Yep. It got me propelled into science fiction. And I've been rooting for Exo-6 to win since their inception, since the day I first saw a video of them. I think it was on Adam Savage highlighting their figures. And at the time they were looking at doing different color variants and everything. I didn't have any equipment at the time. I took my cell phone and videoed my television screen so that I could somehow pull the footage to talk about it. I was that excited. And I've been doing YouTube now for 3 years. Whenever a release comes out, I do a video on them that day. Because I love Trek and I want to talk about it. I want them to be good and I want them to succeed. And some of my criticism is for the purpose of feedback, if anything. Like to say, what are you guys doing? You're losing fans. People are no longer going to buy. Or if they do and they invest and then they get a Wesley Crusher, they're going to go, well, what the hell is with the quality of this figure? Why is Warp so good and this is so soft? And it makes it difficult to continue to support them. Because it feels like in order to support them fully, I have to either put my blinders on or take the wrath of people who are hardened supporters, right? Where the people who are going to support Exo-6, no matter what the quality looks like, they're not going to like what I have to say if I say, what the hell? But on the other hand, I want these to improve so that we can continue to win as Star Trek collectors and fill out our displays. Because honestly, if they were just as good of Hot Toys quality or Inart quality, I might have more Star Trek figures in my display than any of my other collection. That's how much I love Trek. And so you called it, Adam. Paramount, I feel like, needs to hear this at some point. Back when my channel had 500 subscribers, apparently I pissed Paramount off by saying there were too many QC issues with Exo-6. Well, there are still QC issues, as you can see it on the screen. And I would love to talk to Paramount to see why these guys still specifically have the license when there are so many other figure makers out there that I think could blast it away. Have they done a great job in terms of getting figures pumped out? Sure. But I'd rather wait longer, even if it meant better quality or more fulfilling lineups in our displays. So to end cap it, I don't want to be negative, and I apologize if my panel's take today felt negative, but we're obviously Star Trek fans, and we want to see them win. So let's hope for the best going forward, and hopefully for some great options here, guys. I want to spend the majority of the last part of our conversation today, guys, on Superman, but I definitely feel like this Instagram handle at Yanshu, I'll spell it YANSHUAI 632. Mark it down. Follow this guy on Instagram or gal on Instagram. Some amazing photos of the Inart Michael Jackson. Like, some of these poses are amazing. This figure looks amazing. I am not unhappy with Inart at this point. Am I annoyed sometimes how long it takes to get their figures in my display? 100%. I also don't love the fact that I have to go through third-party distributors to get them, even though I've had nothing but pretty great results through 16Fix. 16Fix doesn't pay me to say that. I just have had good experiences ordering Inart product from them. This is an amazing figure, and I think if you're a Michael Jackson fan, which, to be honest, I like some of his songs, but I wouldn't call myself a fan even. I would never buy this figure. It looks amazing, and it really sets a continuous trend for what we've seen from Inart. Virtually, I think every figure at this point, I can't think of one they've done that I'm like, that's not good. I actually think their Joker is probably the least good of all of their figures at this point, but that was their first. And so I think they've only honestly gotten better from there. But we're going to talk a little bit about Inart still, because Inart is also now competing with Hot Toys in the very same week as the pre-order went up for the Hot Toys Superman figure from the upcoming James Gunn film. Inart decided the very next day to put up their pre-order. And you guys have maybe seen some of my solo videos on this week, because I was buzzing, I was excited. I was excited about the Hot Toys one, and I immediately put the pre-order in because I was like, that looks fantastic. And then the very next day when Inart put it theirs up, I looked at their figure and went, okay, I think that's even more fantastic. It actually changed my perception a little bit of the Hot Toys. But I still think the Hot Toys actually has some wins. I do think I like the outfit more, and the coloration, at least saturation of the outfit more, from from Hot Toys. I think the Hot Toys has a better looking symbol, a little bit closer to what we've seen from the the film trailers. Not quite as much texture in there. But I really like the head sculpts that Inart has given us, even though they're a little bit more serious in tone. Obviously, I think the Crypto, while both Cryptos I think look kind of shady, like I don't think either of them are that great. I will say the Inart one is better. But I like the Hot Toys base more than I like the Inart base. So this week was probably the best this or that split decision I could have ever had, because honestly, I don't think you can lose with either of these options. If you've already put your money down on one or the other, I don't think you need to be disappointed. I think they're both great for different reasons. But I was curious what the community is
going to buy both, Ben. You're going to keep.
So currently, I have both pre-orders in. And what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to get them in so I can review them both in hand for the Ben Thomas show, and then I will give one of them away, whichever one that I want slightly less. I'll give that figure away on Let's Get Nuts to one of our channel members. So at some point we'll do a Superman giveaway. You'll have to have it unboxed because I want to review it. But if you're cool with that, then you'll at least get a Superman for your collection if you're part of the channel membership. But I am leaning towards my personal preference, at least from what I've seen here on these photos. The likeness is what really matters most to me in 6 scale collecting. It's the reason I got into 6 scale collecting. and I think that the likeness still wins on Inart. So that's still currently, I think, my favorite of these two. But what did you think of the Battle Royale this week, Adam? I know you actually said you actually felt a little fatigued by it within
Yeah.
days because there were so many comparison videos and there was so much conversation and so many back and forths and screenshots and all of it. But it's also kind of exciting to have this much competition from two pinnacle companies at each other. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was like suddenly we're in the 1 6 figure civil war. You know, it's brother against brother, streamer against streamer. You know, Superman against Superman, and it got a little. It did get a little. You know, it got a little fatiguing after about a day of seeing, because people were kind of getting taken a little too seriously on this. I think you can't go wrong with either one. Really, and I'm not just spinning that. I really think you can't go wrong with either one. It just depends on what version of Superman speaks to you, and because there really are like, if you look at that side by side of the head sculpts right there, on the left, the Inart, which is a much more seems almost more of a Snyder-esque look, and then
More serious
on the right,
in tone thematically.
more serious, more kind of a smirking, upbeat, a brighter. The colors are brighter on the Hot Toys. So it just depends which one speaks to you. Obviously, none of us have seen the movie yet, so we don't know. We've seen stills, we've seen trailers, but which one might be the most accurate for the film? Other than, you know, we're people are like comparing this like it's a Zapruder film, looking at different stills of whether, you know, how the costume is. I don't go into that kind of minute detail. I think, you know, there's things I like about the Inart. For me, I like the brighter tones of the Hot Toys. I actually do like the smirk, and I like the base of the Hot Toys.
Yeah.
I think that's a superior base. The Crypto, it's kind of a wash. They, you know, Hot Toys doesn't do the best job on pets. I used to get Emily these like plastic animals, a company called Schleich, and I used to get them for like horses and cats and dogs and dinosaurs, and it looks like a Schleich animal, a brand called Schleich. So I can't. To me, it's a wash. But I plan, you know, assuming I like the movie, because I'm assuming I'm gonna like the movie. James Gunn, I haven't been let down by his films. I love Superman. So even if it's not a movie I love, if I just like the movie, I'm gonna get you know, as long as I like his performance, I'm gonna get the Hot Toys version. But I want to wait till Thursday before doing anything. Yeah, I think it just depends on what, you know, your perception of how much you feel invested in the most accurate, and which tone do you like in the respective Superman.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, because the thematical choice of the Inart photos resonated with me too. When I first saw them, I thought that they felt like they were catering to a little bit of both sides, right? Hey, here's the new Superman, but for the people who did like the darker, more thematical tone to like Man of Steel or the Snyderverse, hey, this Superman can still be moody. He's not all happy and silly all the time. And let's be honest, I don't want a silly Superman either. Right? I want it to be fun. I want it to be enjoyable. I want it to be hopeful. I want it to be exciting. I don't need it to be silly. But I also like you said, Adam, the kind of happier expression that we get with the Hot Toys. It's a little, you know, but I also really like the other look. And, you know, I see Ricardo here in the chat says, I'm tempted on getting both. I was called a hard R for commenting that on a show last night, but my money, right? Absolutely. It's your money. Nobody can tell you how to make your money. Nobody tells you how hard you have to work at your job every day or whatever you do. Like, it is 100% your money. And of all of my this or that videos that I've done, this is one where I actually can say, hey, yeah, you know what? There might actually be room for both of these. Because the head sculpts are so different. You could have them in different looks. If you like the magnetized base, whatever it is. But it's your money. You could buy 15 of these if you really wanted to. Nobody has the right or power to say what you should do with your own collection. Even myself, I've got both of these on order right now. And Pete, I would say that while Inart for right now is still, winning the likeness battle for me, there's still a part of me that sees the value in the Hot Toys offering as well. But Pete, one of my criticisms of Hot Toys in the last little while has been that they often separate out their releases with different figures. And it would not surprise me if, as soon as the movie airs, similar to Deadpool, that we actually get the version of this Superman that we want, maybe with some different accessories, maybe a laser head sculpt, maybe a closed eye sculpt, like whatever it is, battle damage, whatever it is, I think is going to be in the next box, not necessarily in this one. Whereas I was expecting Inart to give us one at some point, not as fast as they did, but a more inclusive package, which I would argue Inart nailed that. It's a more inclusive package if we only ever get one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my first thought when I saw the Hot Toys one, and I was like, that looks really cool. I'm interested in that maybe. And then the Inart, and I was like, oh, here we go again. I don't need this, and it is it's an ongoing thing, and obviously for them to both solicit them so closely together, I think there are pros and cons to both. I think the Hot Toys is just edging it for me, and I'll say why. If you can bring out the one with the head sculpts, I actually think that the Hot Toys one there looks more like a 6-scale human than the Inart. The Inart looks a little bit cartoony to me. I like I mean, people say, no, the Hot Toys one's too tanned and stuff, but to me there, I think the Hot Toys one has it in terms of a human lifelike portrait. I do like the colours. To me, the Inart one makes me think of the Superman 3, the evil Superman figure the Hot Toys did. Like, everything's a little bit drabber, a little toned down, like Snyderverse. And is that accurate? Is there going to be two different suits, or I know there's a battle damage suit, there's some stuff all over it. I like the colours of the Hot Toys. 2 head sculpts within art, but yeah, the closed eye one's an odd one, and I don't think I'd ever sort of have that out of the box. And I think to your thing about having a laser eye sculpt, I don't think I'd ever use any of them. It's always nice to have extra stuff in the box, more value for money, but quite often, I wouldn't use one of those gimmicky ones. Obviously, the Inart, you get a drape cape and a wired cape. It'd be nice to have
that a lot.
Both with the Hot Toys, because the Hot Toys is just a wired one, and it's very difficult to get those to just drop like the draping.
Nicely, like
so then you've got to pay for a Jackson's U or something like that, and you're adding the difference between this and the Inart almost onto the price. Crypto, I think Inart wins hands down, not just because the sculpting, but the size. If you go back to that last one. With him standing next to look how tiny he is against the Hot Toys. He's not a tiny dog. It's not Snowy from Tintin. It's the largest dog. So here his head is well below the knees on the Hot Toys, whereas his head is above the knees. So I think Inart have got the scale better. The sculpting slightly better. He's got a real collar by the looks of it, whereas the Hot Toys one looks sculpted. But is Crypto in? So basically, my stance is I've held fire on both of these. I want to go and watch the movie first. I'm seeing it Saturday. I don't want to drop money on either of these if I end up hating the movie. I've got a custom Reeve Superman. I've got a BVS suit one. So I've got some Superman. I'm not really. I'd like to have one of these, but I want to see the movie first. I think. I would be erring towards Hot Toys, but yeah, I'm not pulling the trigger. But I think the trouble is that there is a section of the community now that has to say that Inart is so much better and that Hot Toys is shit and everything. That's not the case. It's not the case. I think either would look really great on the shelf, but I think from my point of view, I don't want to end up with a figure that I really was like, I didn't enjoy the movie, and I was going to sell it on. So I think I will hold fire on this one. But I think they've, Yeah, far better. Yeah, but as I say, if I love crypto, if I love the movie and I love crypto, then obviously crypto will be more of a deciding factor. But if he's just like, well, okay, don't really need him, then that makes it a bit easier. But British guy's name Pete. So yeah, I hope the movie's great, and I would like to be in a position where I want to own one of these, and then it will make a difficult decision for me. But at the moment, I'm just going to stay firmly on the fence at the moment.
Absolutely. You mentioned, the competition between Inart and Hot Toys, and just, different community perspectives. Some people are very much on the Inart's better. Some people are on the Hot Toys bandwagon as being better. I've always thought that was strange. Like, that's been something that's really felt like it's happened more in the last, couple of years since Inart's inception. Back when I started collecting 6 scale, you got the figure from the company that made the figure the best. And it didn't really matter who made it, as long as it was a great representation of that character in your display. Like, I would say 99% of the people who come into my collection room are non-collectors. They don't even know the difference of Inart or Hot Toys. That it's just another figure to them, right? Only us collectors truly know. And I'm not gonna have a tally up on my YouTube channel of like, hey, just so you know, guys, don't worry, I've got 5 Inarts. Because like, who gives a shit? Like, honestly, at the end of the day, what I want to see people get is the best representation for what they envision in their display. What is the direction of your collection? How do you plan to set it up? What kind of photos do you want to take of the figure? Who are you going to pair it with, right? Do you even like the movie of the collectible that you're putting in your basket? Because that's another piece, right? As 6 scale YouTubers or pundits or whatever you want to call us, I'm eager to talk about this stuff because I think it's cool, because I think it's fun, and because I have a YouTube channel. So I'll try to get it out as fast as I can. On the other hand, just because I'm excited about something should never propel somebody to buy something they either don't want, don't need yet, or still need to make more time deciding on. Because this week was a great example of that to even myself, that I bought the Superman from Hot Toys immediately, and the very next day there was something that I thought was slightly better available, and now I've got 2. Like,
you better love that movie.
I'm not being. Yeah, and I've already got a T-shirt. I've got a T-shirt and 2 figures. What if I hate the movie? Like, so don't pull a Ben. Don't buy it because of FOMO necessarily. Take some time to think about it. Because these aren't limited releases, you actually have some time to think about it. Yeah. Adam's got the small scale figure.
Yeah.
I had to I talked myself out of that one the other day because I was like, no. I know the Hot Toys one's around the corner. It hadn't been put up yet. And I was like, I haven't seen the movie. But even that is still an investment, right? Even that for me in Canadian dollars is almost a $40 figure. Well, $40 of a $300 figure, I'm like, okay, then I need to save my money for the big one, right? The one that I want the most. But you guys all know this. We all say it all the time. I just think sometimes it's helpful to have the reminder to not FOMO buy, because even I FOMO bought this week and then immediately regretted it. And nobody wants buyer's remorse around something they don't even know if they're going to love yet. That's just mind-boggling. But Mike, obviously you're a huge just DC fan, Batman, Superman. I know you're excited to see the film this week. What kind of purchasing decisions did you have to make with regards to Superman versus Inart this week? And like Adam, did the conversation excite you, or did it actually tire you out a little bit, like some of us out there as well? Some feel tired of the back and forth.
Yeah, it's got a lot of back and forth this week as it was getting tiring. But I mean, it's almost, let's go back to the Corvette, and this is style. You want dark red Corvette, or you want a bright red Corvette? Either way, you're gonna have a Corvette. And it says, so I think it's a win-win. It's just what pick you want, and you got choices. And it says, and as in me, I wasn't even gonna get the Superman. And it says, but, and I said, and I saw this come out, the Hot Toys come out, what was it? I don't know, my time, Thursday night. And it says, and then they're like, whoa, okay. They finally did it. They did it before the movie next week. And then Saturday came, and boom, this one from Inart came. And I saw that, and I said, I'm going to get that one. I mean, it depends. It just depends how your eye and how it's going to pop to you. And it says, and quite honestly, what really sold me on Inart was crypto. And it says, so I like
Yeah.
the form of the dog, and then crypto, and just like Pete said, it says the scale and everything else.
Yeah.
The collar, that was one of the things that got me
Yeah.
too. Also, so it was kind of like, okay, and it's kind of like, okay, now what the color is it? You want a darker Superman, or you want a brighter Superman? I said, yeah, I mean, they're both good. So it's a win-win,
Yeah.
and it's just what you prefer. You're still gonna
It's
get
hard.
the same. You're still gonna get a Corvette, but what color you want it?
100%, dude. And it's hard too, because with photography and editing of photography these
Yeah.
days, like I think it was Pete that was saying, the Hot Toys looks a little bit more tanned, right? A little more colorful. But is that just the saturation of the photo? Because this JC Hung photo doesn't make him look as tanned all of a sudden, right?
No.
And so how dark is the Inart version? Maybe it's not that dark at all. Maybe it's just the photo creating some tricks on our eyes a little bit, right? And oftentimes we also see our 6 scale figure at a 3 to 4 foot distance. It's like when you're first taking it out of the box, obviously you're going to look at it really close, but once it's in your display, you're looking at these at a bit of a distance. And some of my criticisms around like the emblem patterning and stuff, I think would go away pretty quickly. With the Inart version, right? Crypto is better. I agree with you on that one, Mike. And one of the other things that I did this week was I did make a comparison video, but not just for like figure to figure, not just outfit and head sculpt and stuff like the standard comparison. The other thing that I'd highlighted, which was the version, like the video I did the day before, I was wrong. What I highlighted about being wrong was I kept saying Inart's going to be almost guaranteed more expensive, guaranteed, and guaranteed you're going to wait 2 or 3 years to get it. So if Hot Toys is going to give it to us right now, they seem like they're going to take the win for the people who want it directly after they see the film. They're like, you know what? I want something from that film in my display. I'm going to buy it right now. Hot Toys was going to give us the best option. But because I was wrong, in that comparison photo, something I highlighted was the price points were actually very close. And you also get that second head sculpt within it.
It's
Obviously,
and 2 capes,
obviously through a third-party distributor like 1/6 Kit, they're going to have their own markup to a certain extent as well. So that differential of like $29 now becomes more like maybe a differential of like $60 to $80. But again, you get an extra cape, you get an extra head sculpt with Inart, and the release window is Q2 of 2026. Whereas even though the Hot Toys one is coming out somewhere between this month and December, if you buy it through somewhere like Sideshow, it's still probably going to be 6 to 8 months, depending on the wait time or where you live in the world. So suddenly the comparison was a lot closer than I expected, because you got the cryptos, you got the version of the suit. Neither one of them came with a laser eye sculpt. The price was virtually the same. The release date is virtually the same. It really just comes down to which one resonates with you a little bit more. And that's why for this or that video, I was just so split, because I don't think you can lose with either option. But I also think the competition here might push Hot Toys to continue to maybe tweak their sculpt if it's not already ready, right? Because that's the other piece. With such a short window, I think this is the final. I don't think this is a prototype. I think this is what people are going to give. But
I wouldn't be surprised if this is announced next week. When, in time of the movie.
Like released in Hong Kong?
Dropped in Hong Kong. Yeah.
100%. 100%. But again, also, as I said, it's just a good time to be a collector, really, at the end of the day, right? How many weeks in a row do we do this show where we say that the selection is so good, I have to pass on characters that I would get just for the ones that I need to get, And Superman, I love Superman, so I am pre-anticipating loving the film, but I'm also trying not to work myself up too aggressively either, because if it's just okay, as a figure collector, I still probably am going to want the representation.
It's
I just don't think I'll need 2. But where I guarantee Hot Toys or maybe Inart or maybe both is still going to give us the Clark Kent representation as well, because it's surprising to me that it didn't come as like a 2-pack, or again, battle damaged or laser eye, or is there a Bizarro? A Superman we're going to get, like maybe a different variant altogether, but like I think this is going to be a vast line if it's a popular film. So let's wait and see. But guys, that is the show today. 1/6 Scale Man here in the house. What up, Ben and crew? Good to see you, buddy. We're just wrapping up for the day, so make sure you check it out on replay, okay? But if you're part of our membership, you are already part of our Hall of Nut Armor. Make sure you think about subscribing and becoming a channel member. If you are interested, you can always click on the QR code beside it to the member link if that's something you are interested in. Our membership emojis, so make sure you guys throw in some Nut Kings in the chat. If you are a Nut King, I want to see those crowns. Everybody else, of course, send us some jumbos and some this or that's or whatever you like. And then, of course, our classy nut crew. Overall, we have now over 52 channel members, guys. Thank you to everybody who is a channel member, whether you're just one of the classy nuts at $1.99 Canadian, so it was like 99 cents American, or if you're in the Nut King tier to get your stickers. Either way, all of that money just goes back to the channel so I can do more figure giveaways. We're still waiting on that Alien Romulus figure to come out so I can get that Batman, or our Nut King, the Batman, his figure. So I'm excited to see them get that in their displays. But overall, guys, I definitely want to say a big thank you to my panel. 1 Adam 12th, thank you so much for being back, good sir. Anything coming up on your channel this week that you're excited for?
I'm doing a double duty streaming. I'm going to be on Movie Canon Geo Show tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 p.m. in the West. Check your local listings for their times. And I think I'm going to try to do it's not a 1/6 scale, but I'm going to do a little unboxing for this little guy here.
Oh, yeah,
so
man.
Why not?
I am curious how the faceplates are going to pop off, honestly. I was wondering, like, does the hair come out and then it slips underneath? Because I was having a hard time seeing where the seam is for the face. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I don't know. I think so. We'll find out.
It's pretty seamless considering. So yeah, I tuned in just to see how it works, honestly.
And Pete, my wife and daughter are on the way right now to London. They're taking a Girl Scout trip. It's 3 days in London, 4 days in Paris. So they will be
awesome.
hopping the pond.
Yeah, I hope they have a great time.
Absolutely. X-Men Supreme, one of our channel Nut Kings here with a Nut King emoji. 15 member a month. That is insane. Dude, thank you so much for supporting for so long, man. Definitely appreciate you. And Adam, 1/6 YouTube content here. Honestly, you're the man. 1 Adam 12th YouTube channel. Make sure you go over and check him out there with him and his daughter. Hopefully she's doing well as well, getting ready for her summer and everything, and the family, good sir. So thanks for being back as always. Mr. Pete, 1/6 collecting for you, good sir. How is life looking for you? Anything happening on OFAC, on Collecting Weekly, or what's going on for you?
OFAC's proving a little bit hard to get off the ground these days, but we've not gone away. We'll get something going. Obviously, I enjoy joining you guys on here. Kind of, always be on when I can. It's not too bad actually. We finished, just after midnight, so it's not too bad for me. I can still get 6.5 hours sleep before getting up for work tomorrow, so that's okay. And I might show up on. I said to Aaron that I'll do another live articulates with him, although he's busy driving around in his car at the moment. But yeah, I might get on.
He needs a mic. He needs a shirt mic. I've been meaning to reach out to him because it's funny
he had
stuff,
one,
but I can't
I'm sure
hear
he
him
had
very
one.
well.
He did have one, I think, on the first
day.
one, but didn't spot it on the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just popping up where I can. Still, loving the game. I've got the Hot Toys hand sailor on the way, so I should have him by the end of the week. Interested to see what that sculpt's like in hand, how bad the wrinkles are. Sometimes it looks fantastic, other times it looks awful. So I think it's very much about lighting, positioning, eye position, stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to having a look at that one. Yeah,
you can use it as a credit card holder if you need to. Yeah,
it's
definitely.
It's a 5-head, isn't it? That's what they call it.
That's right. Yeah, that's okay. You can't judge. You never know, right? So
no.
I don't want to put that bad juju out there. But no, I'm excited to hear your thoughts more on that, especially when you get it in hand, buddy, for sure. And dude, thanks for always being here. I definitely appreciate it. You're now one of our kings as well. Again, just to remind people, anybody who becomes one of the Nut Kings, you do get channel stickers. I have the stickers on the way. I got my first batch of Let's Get Nuts stickers the other day, and they were way too small. They were way too small. I don't know what I was thinking. So it's cool. Actually, here, I can show you. Look how small this thing is. That is not big enough. So some people may get some extra bonus little Let's Get
Yeah.
Nuts stickers because I like it. It's cool holographic image,
Yeah.
but it's way too freaking small. So I did another batch, but so far I've spent $500 in stickers. So I'm hoping that everybody loves them to the best of our ability who becomes members. So love you guys. Pete, you're the man. Appreciate you, buddy. It's Randall says it's a small nut. Don't even worry about it. Mike, Tijuana Mike, aka King Chiro, good sir. Again, you're one of our channel kings as well. Thank you for being here on the panel as always. Anything coming up for you this week you're excited about, buddy? Oh, I got you muted, I think.
There we go. And he says, thank you for having me. I'll be doing double duty with Adam today. And this is, I'll be on the movie canon with Geo later on today, 6 Pacific. And then I'll be on Collector's Figure tomorrow on Monday. Usually it's my time, about 4 Pacific. So 4:30. So no, and this is thank you so much for having me again. Nice meeting you, Pete. And
you too, Mike. And
spending some time with Adam, and spend some more time later on. And yeah, man. And this is always fun. And this is thank you for having me again.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. I'm happy to see, the people who have been on Let's Get Nuts periodically go off and do other streams with other people. It feels like the community grows, and I got a lot of my panelists from guys like Collecting Weekly and 16 Fix and some of those channels, right? And so it's fun to see us all progress through the different shows and make different appearances and stuff. It sounds like it's going to be a great show on Geo's show tonight. So say hi to him for me, because I won't be there, but to that show, make sure you go and check it out on the channel, The Movie Canon on YouTube. And Mike, always welcome here, buddy. Thanks for being back and being a good spirit about Batman underwear. To give a special shout out, let's call it the Nut Kings first. We got Mr. SpongeBob SquareBalls, Miss That Guy, Collecting Weekly, The Batman 12-Inch Moose Stream, X-Men Supreme, Peter Cass, Valkyrie Magnus, Ron E, One Adam 12, Sith Scale Collector, OG Fan, When Star Wars Was Just Star Wars, Tijuana Mike, aka King Chiro, and our newest channel, Nut King, which is Mr. Manny Fresh, who I almost missed this. I apologize. Holy cow. He gave a $5 super chat. I didn't even see this, dude. I'm so sorry. It says, Inart's Crypto has a damn good collar and tag, which makes it far better. After rewatching the trailer, the suit is not as bright. Inart wins. Hot Toys is good. Hey, yeah, man. I still don't think you can go wrong with either, but dude, thank you so much for the super chat there as well. Sorry I almost missed that, but thanks also for becoming one of our Nut Kings, good sir, as well. In terms of our classy nut crew, though, we've of course got Alvin J, Honest Hansel, Money Mendez, Harry Dempsey, 6 Scale Mafia, 16 Figure Focus, Parks Industries, King Dingaling, Jose G. Hernandez, The Real Tex Conway, Collection Obsession, The Movie Canon, Figurecraft, Jim Collector, Don Maton, Alex Serrato, Pop Culture Relics, Daniel SC, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey, Sam Gist, Rachel Miller, Mike and Callie, Figure in a Bubble, Daguito, Blurred Dad Life, Alex Serrato, Pliskin Incorporated, Andreas IB, Earth 616 Collector, Tony Tom, Saphira Cosplay, Trevor Weed, Aaron Broverman, Big Rib, as Dean would say, Big Dog Pound 1, Akira, Monroe Corbeil, Stoned Capybara, Vita aka Her Geeky Side, Field to Burn, and Fig Poser. Guys, thank you so much for being channel members, as well as to everybody who is just honestly a subscriber or a supporter of the show. If you are new to the channel, you are here on the Ben Thomas Show, please feel free to subscribe. It is free. We would love to have you here, as well as hitting the like button to share the content would definitely be appreciated. But all that to say, let's stay tuned for our end credits today, guys, because I've put the Nut Kings on the end credits for some special highlight there and tweaked it a bit. So guys, Mr. Pete, with all that said, we got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, what a great audience. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Because subscribing makes you feel good. Wesley, go what shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. It's gone. It's all gone.